Welcome back to the North American Smite Challenger Circuit. One final match this week, and this one is important. And what a way to kick off this Saturday in Smite action. We've got the Yomi Tanuki up against the Athenian Sages, and a very important matchup that has implication for Masters and the North American Smite Challengers teams that could be representing the NASEC at Masters here in just a couple of weeks. Excited to get this one started. I can't do it alone. Trelly's with me. And Trelly, over here in NA, it only seems fitting that we've got two teams this far on into the phase that are still competing for spots because it's been such a competitive region.
Yeah, definitely. And it's wild to see. I just checked the Indian Sages. I mean, I've watched all their games, and it's hard to believe they're 0-3 because they definitely have a strong record. So both of these teams that you mentioned trying to fight for that top four. That's what they need right now. The Tanuki are in number 3 right now, but a loss would definitely bring them down. And the Sages trying to get on the board.
We've already seen some competitive Smite in the NASCC this week. A couple of 3-game sets. Xibalba Storm winning over the Weavers, and then the Hounds finding yet another win in the NASEC over the Wardens. That one was a lot of fun to watch. Some back and forth Smite there, and then, if I remember correctly, Game 3, not particularly close as the Hounds run over the Wardens. Sages versus the Tanuki, the third and final set we've got in the NASEC this week. And the Olympus Bolts looking unique here in the middle of the NASEC standings, but I think the big takeaway is, if I look at the standings over here, it's that the Tanuki at 2-1 going into this set, and the Sages at 0-3. So there is a world where the Tanuki lose, they drop to 2-2. The Sages move up to 1-3. And then if the Sages win again, they're 2-3. And if the Tanuki lose again, they're 2-3. And I believe head-to-head would then have the Sages over the Tanuki. So all of these moving puzzle pieces, the ups and downs, the backs and forths, it all gets simplified, Trelly, if the Tanuki just win. If the Tanuki win here, the Sages won't be able to go to Masters in your top 4 set. If the Sages win, things remain interesting moving forward. And if you look at this Tanuki roster, I stand with you, Trelly, or the Sages roster, rather. I stand with you. Slash, Jangaru, Briz, Privative, and Snoopy. Snoopy, right. Can't just slip that one in there. Snoopy now the permanent replacement for Shinigami. And the change now to this roster so late on in the phase, look, I think Snoopy is a talented player. Has played in the SPL recently, has played on successful North American SEC teams recently, nearly qualified into the SPL, was the last team out of that SPL qualifier tournament. I suppose, you know, it's a good change for the Sages team. The question becomes, is it too late on in the phase? You know, how are you going to synergize with this ADC? Maybe if there's a role that you can replace, it's one where you kind of leave them on an island for a little while and they team fight with you later on. What do you think about making a roster swap this late on in the phase?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting choice because it's not like Shinigami was a lower performer on this team. I mean, I think he was a good portion of the success that they were able to find. I mean, obviously they're 0-3, but they were able to take some games off, and usually their ADC was performing quite well, I would say. So it's going to be interesting if Priv and Snoopy can get that sort of synergy, that duo lane synergy that you really love to see. I mean, if you're a Guardian player, or a support player rather, and your ADC are not on point together, you're really not going to be able to find that level of success. So it's going to be interesting to see. This is very late into the split, as you mentioned, if they can find that in such a short amount of time. But Snoopy's been around. You know, he's definitely no stranger to competition, and I'm sure he'll be able to perform in any sort of circumstance. So
Agreed.
I'm not too worried about it.
No, Snoopy is such a talented player. Yep. And so it's not an individual talent question. It's a how well can Snoopy synergize with this team on short basis type of question. I would love it if the Sages were able to keep things interesting for one more week here in the North American SEC. The Tanuki, who have won a set already, won a couple of sets already, have something to say about it, though. This is also a very talented roster in a competitive North American Challenger circuit. You got Snotty, Sada Dragon, Tripno, Monster Bomber, and Hydrogen. And so now I think there's extra emphasis on Monster Bomber and Hydrogen, the duo lane today, and how they can compete with Priv and Snoopy on the other side, who I think become one of the stronger duo lanes here in the North American SEC. But I think Sada Dragon has really stood out to me for this team, Trelly. I think a coach of one of the SPL hopeful rosters at that SPL qualifier tournament, now turned jungler here for this Tanuki team. Top kills on this team per game, and I think for good reason. Such an impactful jungler.
Yeah, definitely a unique playstyle as well. Not really the sort of setup player. Sada Dragon wants to play these hard carries, get these high kill count games, and really set his team up for victory. I mean, if you're dropping those high kill games as you mentioned, trying to get to those later stages, the 5v5 team fight just becomes so difficult. He has these Kali's in the roster, right? These different style of picks that you're not really used to playing against, and has the potential to just completely change a team fight. So Shadow Dragon, definitely a hard carry on this team, as well as Snatty. Usually getting that solo lane pressure is the way this roster likes to play. They like to put Shadow Dragon in that solo lane, let Snatty get ahead, and I've seen Snatty get pressure about pretty much every single solo laner in this league right now, and that's really annoying to deal with, these tanky warriors rotating in at the later stages of the game.
Yeah, agreed. And I think Troy, it's such a unique roster, this Tanuki team, because definitely players we've seen in the SEC before, names we should be familiar with over the years at this level of play. And it's just kind of like a rock solid team. You don't have this like ex-SPL, names in the light style names on this roster, but they have just been solid and consistent throughout the SEC so far up to this point. Can they knock out the Sages from Masters? Picks and bans from game number 1. We'll start off our story here. Remember, the Sages, they need to win this set in order to still have a chance in the world. A lot still has to go their way, but a chance to move forward into Masters. If the Tanuki win this set, then your top 4 are set, and the North American teams heading to Smite Masters in a few weeks are confirmed. ESET takes a ban. RDO does as well. We saw a lot of ESET yesterday in the SPL, both jungle and mid lane, it feels like, which is surprising because I'm used to seeing ESET in support, and that's it. But ESET on a bit of a rise here as of late. Kleedna also going to take a ban. And then Medusa taken off the table. Now, we have seen, again, in the SPL, a detraction from the Medusas and the Cerns of the world, and more into, can we build Devourer's Gauntlet style picks in ADC? We have seen a shift in ADC priority.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, the nerf to Crusher and Aussie was definitely big, but I didn't think it would be this big. I mean, usually you would still see the same style of picks with a different build. Now we're just saying, hey, Jing Wei, Rama, those sort of characters are going to be the interesting point. But Bellona, that took no change. That's Tolhead and Berserker Shield, definitely going to be very strong in that solo lane, as well as Zeus took no changes. So still going to be very popular pick. First picked away, and Soul following up as well. So that's going to be the ADC Soul and a mid lane Zeus. That's going to be a lot of magical damage. What are they going to follow it up with? That's going to be interesting to see. But Bellona, I just imagine, going to get a lot of pressure. And usually when you first pick this Zeus, you have to watch out for some of these counter matchups. Daji is open, and most notably the Thoth. You're going to get outranged pretty much this whole game, and there's the Daji.
Yeah, my goodness. I mean, Zeus somewhat immobile, Daji able to capitalize on that. Thoth is going to have range in this lane. Zeus is strong, but you're opening up to some counter picks later on in the draft. Amaterasu to answer back to the Bellona. This is a matchup that we saw all through the SPL qualifier tournament earlier on this year. Bellona up against Amaterasu. The Soul is there for a little bit of scaling as well, and so if the Tanuki can spool up a little bit, they have a lot of damage rolling through. Now, I do think the way Shadow Dragon likes to play Trillian, we talked about the less facilitator, more hard carry style, potentially opens you up to diversifying some of your damage a little bit. I mean, if you got such magical damage in mid, a high level of magical damage in your hunter role, something like a hard carry style jungler will help you get some more physical damage online. But we're sticking with magical damage. This looks like a Nox support for Monster Bomber, and something that's been on the rise alongside the ESETs of the world.
Yeah, I was going to say, very surprised at the bans that the Sages just took there, but also they have the Daji. I was going to say, obviously, Shadow Dragon loves this Kali pick, but right now, with the Daji already locked in, no CC immunity, so probably not too worried about that. They will ban away the Geb and the Khepri. Those cleanses for the Palau are going to be very impactful, so just want to get rid of those immediately. And they're going to take Chiron, which also has a cleanse, interestingly enough. And then the Sobek, so that's a pretty strong early lane. I like to call the Giddy Up from Chiron a Sobek pluck in its own right, because you can just sort of double pluck them back. So that's going to be an interesting lane here. And they are going to save Shadow Dragon's pick for last, but it's going to be the Fenrir here. So not so much the hard carry style jungle that we were just harping on, more so the setup. There's still some solo potential. I mean, into Thoth specifically, no way to cancel out Brutalize, so that's going to be a pretty hard matchup just in the mid lane. But besides that, a different sort of style that we haven't seen Shadow Dragon lean too much.
I have to believe that this will be an ability-based build or some type of damaging-based build. I think we did see, like, stone cutting sword or something weird on a Fenrir here recently. I don't remember what the exact build was, but I guess that's an opportunity too. Time for the Sages and the Tanuki to kick things off. Game number 1 in the North American SEC final matchup of the week. And I think two of the best logos we've got in the North American SEC. A battle of the logos here in game number one, as we are wrong about a little bit, maybe a lot. Trelly, what the hell is going on? Excuse my language. It's actually, oh, okay, no, we're right.
I was going to say,
I was so confused there for a second. I was baffled. We hadn't swapped the names around. My goodness, my brain was fried. I thought we had a Zeus jungle, a Nox mid, a Sol solo, and I was completely taken aback. But no, we're in a normal world here where everything stands as it is. Thank goodness, because I was going to be really sad with how this game was going to look a few minutes in. But we can rest easy. Everything is normal here. And I look at now the range that the Sages are bringing to the table, Trelly, and it's that you got this Thoth, and you got Snoopy on Chiron, who later in the game was going to have so much damage. Snatty jumped on. And that makes you worried for this Zeus, I think. That was something you brought up in Picks and Bans.
Yeah, just the artillery fire from not only Briz, but Snoopy as well is going to be very difficult. Now you also have to worry about the fact that there's so much range, as you mentioned. It's just very hard for Tripno to try and survive on this Zeus pick. There is a little bit of return fire there with Sadadragon. Will be able to pretty much solo out Briz if he's ever out of position, so Briz is going to have to position very well. And right about that tower line is where this Thoth is probably going to stay for the majority of this game. But looks like there will be a pluck on a Hydrogen, but the Giddy Up misses. Snoopy probably doesn't have enough damage to separate. Will get Hydrogen out of harm's way, but I want to look towards that mid lane matchup, man. I want to see if these Assassins are looking to get early, because I think active early, because I think both of these mages pretty susceptible to these ganks.
Yeah, I agree. I think between Tripno and Briz, you've got to play safe early on. You got beads on both. Actually, got beads on all 5 members of the Tanuki. And when you got Jangaru, I mean, the moment level 5 gets hit, you've got to watch out for Palau and how that can change this game around. Sadadragon hovering by left, but Jangaru is close by as well. Remember, so many of these Snoopy teams, and this is not an indictment of any of those teams, felt like they lived and died by whether or not Snoopy was fed and out of control come laning phase, come the end of laning phase. And so that's what I look out for, as well as the mid lane matchup. Can Snoopy get far ahead? Even if you don't get kills, can you put pressure on the enemy duo lane? Can you force Sadadragon to come over and split the purple buff with Hydrogen? Little things like that, I think, end up making a big difference. And it's a good start already, though maybe not surprising, Trelly. You know that Sol needs a little bit of time to wind up here, so maybe no surprise that a Sobek and a Chiron have early pressure.
Yeah, I don't think Hydrogen really is caring about this right now. With the Gilded Arrow start, you're going to be out farming as long as you're not letting your wave die to the tower or anything like that. So just sitting safe in this lane, avoiding the plucks from Priv if possible. That's probably the name of the game right here for the Tanuki. They don't really care about that early aggression because Chiron and Sobek, they're going to out-clear anyway. So just sit back, get your farm, and try to get that soul to that later stage of the game when that Celestial Legion helm's done. You have some protections for the range that Snoopy's going to bring, that sort of thing. But Sadadragon will pass over a ward here on the way to the left, so this will be spotted out pretty much immediately. And the cleanse is available for Snoopy, so I don't think they will even have to beads if that ult does come through. Sadadragon, recognizing this, going to go back over to mid lane where Briz might be in some trouble.
Yeah, Briz could be under pressure, but playing far enough back and safe on the Thoth, as you would expect. Privative goes Bracer early on in this lane. It's amazing how much lurking in the waters can get you out of dazzling offensive. Now, I say out of, meaning avoiding. You've got to use that lurking in the waters preemptively from something like the Ragnarok. But with a lot of the individual instances of lockdown that the Tanuki have, I think Priv probably smart, trusting the play style that the lurking in the waters will be quick enough and on time. Jangaru, though, an opportunity for an early kill. Is the damage enough? It nearly is, but Sadadragon will walk away having to use the beads. Tripno does as well. Talk about a worthwhile engagement. Jangaru gets the beads off both the mid laner and the jungler of the Tanuki in one fell swoop.
Yeah, I think Sadadragon also popped the health pot right when he saw the Palau come out, so really needed that HP there. Priv will pick up that red buff. I don't think they have enough damage to even get this Sobek to half health, so we'll be able to just walk out of there. Was a great engagement, though. Jangaru getting a lot of worth out of that Palau currently. I was going to say Tripno and Hydrogen both building in the Celestial Legion helm, but answer back, yep. Privative already has Heartward Amulet online. A lot of magical defense for pretty much anyone who's around this Sobek right now. They recognize, number one, there's 3 mages on the side of the Tanuki. We don't have to worry about that much physical damage, especially because Snatty's not going to rotate over for quite some time, has the beads, no teleport.
Right.
So they just get some magical defense, aura for the whole team. Now they pretty much have no sort of engage for at least a little bit longer until they get some of that flat pen. They went for a physical defense item first, so they won't have any penetration for at least a little bit longer.
Yeah, this is like max value hardware for Privative early on in this game, outside of where Sada Dragon ends up going. And even later on into the game, we know Amaterasu can do a lot of damage, but you're really relying on Sada Dragon with what looks like the start of an ability-based build on this Fenrir to be supplying some of that. So I agree, Trelly, a smart early purchase from Privative as the Athenian Sages pull a quiet 500-600 gold lead in the first 5 or 6 minutes of this game. And that allows some scaling to happen here. As Snoopy ends up going back and I believe picks up Transcendence, which he does. And so if you talk about ability-based builds, that's what we have seen on this Chiron as of late. I suppose when Crusher was all the rage, you know, you go Crusher into something a little bit more standard. As up and down from the Palau goes Jangaru. Sada Dragon still didn't have beads, but does have Ragnarok. Privative, yes, he caught out, or is it Sada Dragon? Briz with a final judgment right down the side will give the Tanuki an early loss in the Athenian Sages' first blood. That's got to be a lightning storm to disengage from Tripno. Felt like a matter of time, and the Sages find first blood.
Yeah, Briz is doing way too much damage. It is only 6 minutes into the game, currently full Divine Ruin, level 8 Thoth. Pretty much able to one-shot right now. That wasn't even a fully charged Final Judgment. That was just a lot of damage from the Hieroglyphic Assault, and the Final Judgment one-tap just to finish that one off. So always having, I was going to say that Briz has to stay back in this matchup, but Sada Dragon has been getting pretty bullied this game, already going into some magic defense there, possibly a Runic Shield or an Ancile, something to just try and survive the magical damage from Briz alone, because you're not worried about Priv's damage right now. You're just trying to say, if I have to kill this Thoth, that's my job as a Fenrir. I'm going to have to get some defense. There's no way I can 1v1 him right now. It's a 2-level lead. Did just tick over to level 8, so just 1 level right now. But Thoth going to be pumping out a lot of damage numbers currently. Snoopy, though, will be going for that full ability damage build, at least the start of it. We'll have to see if he does end up going for maybe some auto attack here and there, maybe a chin size, something like that, or just straight Jotun's Wrath, Crusher, Heartseeker. We love seeing that Chiron build because you can just half-health someone from like across the map.
Right, depending on what Monster Bomber builds, you could only have one like super tanky target to deal with later in the game, and that could be Snatty, and that might open up Snoopy to diversifying the build a little bit. I feel like we see a lot of Transcendence. Titan's Bane at some point in this build really starts to hurt. Of course, the upgraded Bluestone. And so Centaurus sometimes use Trailer later on in fights, almost similar to how Briz is going to play on this Thoth, where you just sit back, you let Centaurus fly, and if you're connecting on the carries, I mean, they end up walking out of the fight early, whether you kill them or not, with half HP missing. So that's what I look forward to for Snoopy later on in this game. Of course, you've got the wind-up time that we've already talked a little bit about for Hydrogen on this Soul Celestial Legion to start. Looks like Soul Gem?
It's got to be Pythags.
Pythags, right? I mean, something else. I'm so used to seeing that item and then go into Soul Gem after the fact that, yeah, I'm intrigued to see what that ends up being for Hydrogen. Pythags may make sense, and maybe it makes more sense than a Soul Gem would for Hydrogen, but power and lifesteal early on in the build is what Hydrogen's got in mind, regardless of what that item ends up.
Yeah, I think the aura will help out the triple mage comp, but also it's going to make your power spike a lot later for this. So already you went the Celestial Legion hump, so you're not doing too much damage. Usually that Spear of the Magus or a Typhon's thing is going to help out. Sada Dragon, though, will go in on Snoopy a lot of damage.
Cleanse is good, though. Sada Dragon actually gets a lot turned around. Snoopy sends out the damage and the detonate. Able to get himself out alive, but Beads is actually what ends up getting used there from Snoopy, realizing there was way too much lockdown, and a quick cleanse from the Chiron wouldn't do enough. And so Beads have to get used in a small win for the Tanuki, though just forcing Snoopy back with all the pressure that he's built up in that lane. Maybe feels like a bit of a consolation prize. Haven't seen the supports rotate through too much just yet. Privative helping out with that kill over in the mid lane. Both Soul Laners healthy enough up to this point. And both Soul Laners trailing, maybe no surprise, as Hydrogen finds a lot of damage. Snoopy gallops out of it. Jangaru blinks forward. Hydrogen has Disapparate and Beads. And that was something Snoopy went back into, realizing his jungler might be able to help out. But Jangaru can't get anything done here, and Hydrogen drops the ult and wins the trade as a result.
Yeah, I think Snoopy got a lot more confident once, the jungle did show up, but Hydrogen was probably going to go in for the solo kill there. I don't think Centaurus would have been able to get the res off if that Stellar Burst and a few autos came out. So Hydrogen was able to find a little bit of pressure in this lane, but now Snoopy backs get the full Jotun's Wrath, and that's going to be a lot more difficult to deal with. You get a lot more damage. The CDR is about 30% right now. It looks like Slash will be making a rotation over to Goldfear. They have Final Judgment, so the confirm will be there. Monster Bomber is sort of spotting this out, though. They don't have the vision. They're going to pull this hero, but it looks like more so a red buff invade?
Yeah, a small power spike for both carries as well if they rotate into this. You mentioned the Jotuns. It is Pythag's piece indeed for Hydrogen. Help out the rest of the mages as it's a pluck onto Tripno and a double stun as well. Now Palau up from Jangaru. Lightning Storm still taking some damage on the back end of this fight. Double stun from Snatty. It's a massive rotation over from the solo laner. Beads get used and the chase down on Jangaru is in, but Jangaru's got the mobility. It is a 1 for none as Tripno is jumped on and simply taken out at level 11. Aegis might have made a difference, but Aegis was not there. And the Sages find a second kill.
Snoopy had some really nice snipes on the Sadragon as well. I'm curious how close that masterful shot was to finishing off. Just not enough damage there. Luckily, Sadragon once again getting out with 1 HP, but a great fight by them. The rotation from the solo laners certainly helped out, but no Gold Fury will be pulled at this time. They're happy just with the pick. About a 1k gold lead, but only about 500 XP. I think that's because Snatty has been farming pretty well. Does have a level lead over Slash, even with that assist gold that Slash has had there. So just a little bit of extra pressure from the Amaterasu. But besides that, we're seeing the leads in mid. Briz has a level lead over Tripno right now. That Thoth is still going to be swinging. And then also a level lead for the solos. Privative Sobek is up right now against Monster Bomber. So just a small XP differential across the map. But if you're fighting around your solo laner, I don't think it's going to matter too much. Slash, though, will be trying to bully out Sadragon here at this blue buff.
It's a nice up down from Sadragon, just to avoid some of the damage and return some from Snatty. I wouldn't be surprised if both solo laners mirror one another's builds. It's happened up to this point. It looks like it will continue to happen throughout, but Snatty, the one with the 2-level lead, is what a fight we've got here. Frostbound slowing down Slash.
Slash is dead.
Chasing him down. Eagles rally from Slash, dodging out a lot, but Ragnarok pulling Slash out of tower range. Sadragon grabs the kill with the Ragnarok. And that is one of the slowest, most drawn-out ganks I've ever seen, but it pays off for the Tanuki.
I'm really surprised that Jangaru came over here to right lane because you have so much pressure in solo. We're watching this gank happen. Palau will go out, but Snatty has Dazzling Offensive. Won't be too much to happen over here. But Hydrogen already back, so at that point the Sages say, hey, there's 2 people over there. The Soul's gone. Briz taking a lot of, my goodness. He just Beads. He was so scared he was going to die there. I mean, Beads does nothing. He probably thought he had Aegis, just Beads, because that was a lot of damage from Zeus. Remember, Tripno's down a level right now, so that's the damage that Zeus can do even from behind. The whole point I was trying to make is that they could have pulled gold. That's all. But looking at the damage in mid lane right now, it doesn't even matter. Tripno probably could have defended by himself with Lightning Storm.
Yeah, Briz goes back and buys Aegis immediately. So has that now. That's a lot. I mean, look, that shows you when the door is open, Tripno can walk forward, drop a Lightning Storm, a couple ticks of that, a detonate. Briz is going to be in a difficult spot. Tier 2 of the Obshart, though, backed and completed for Briz. So on the map immediately at this moment, an item advantage to Briz, but Tripno, with the pressure, able to go back and match that itemization as well. As Chronos Pendant, second item for Briz, you'll be able to find those hieroglyphic assaults a little bit more often. I was going to say we'd be waiting for a solo lane rotation out. Took a quick peek, looked for a teleport. Not only are builds mirrored, but relics are mirrored as well. Blink and Beads for both of the solo laners. And so we get a pretty early indication of when maybe this Gold Fury is considered if both solo laners walk all the way over from the right side of the map. However, we could also see it in this type of situation where the other 4 members of both teams just start to hover around the Gold Fury. Good ward coverage on both sides. And you can tell in a game this close, Trelly, Jangaru in, Tripno has Lightning Storm, has Beads. Beads on a Sadragon, or Ragnarok rather on Sadragon as the chains had connected. Privative now has to dash away. That's another example of Jangaru with a pretty impactful ultimate. It's just Palau. You get both Ragnarok, Lightning Storm, and Beads off the Tanuki players.
Yeah, they're on a little bit of a different page there. Tripno drops the ult, assuming that Sadragon's going to pull into the Lightning Storm, but went for the tower instead. Now you just essentially waste your Zeus ult. Remember, Briz doesn't even have beads right now, so that would have been a great target for that Ragnarok, but it's very hard to get to Thoth playing this far back. They are pulling the Pyromancer now, but Snaddy's here. The level 16 Amaterasu has everything available.
Yep.
I think they're going to try to fight this.
Yeah, why not, right? You have the small advantage. You're going to get your Pal-Out back before a Lightning Storm is available. Snaddy opens things up, though. Dazzling Offensive has found the backline. Snoopy with a well-timed cleanse. Only takes half of his health as a repercussion. Sada Dragon left running. Beads get used, but Beads timeout. Eagles rally on the re-engage. But there's Tripno over the wall. Doesn't have Lightning Storm, doesn't need it. Briz answers back. Both mid laners getting involved early. Snaddy has found the backline. Snaddy has found the jungler. And the Tanuki buy their time. Ults don't matter when you're able to fight more effectively. Snaddy is on a warpath. And the last two members of the Sages under their tier 2 tower are going to get run down. You think Amaterasu's good? Snaddy sure does. 3-0-2 and a deicide to the Tanuki.
I mean, Priv tried to peel that and then just ended up dying himself, so that one just did not work out, unfortunately. Has Lightning Storm for this Fire Giant. It's going to be very hard to take this one down. It's very early on in the game. Their health bars will get low, but with the help from Snaddy's passive, I think this will be a 16-minute FG, and Sad Dragon respawns, so everyone will be picking this one up. Snoopy not going to get there in time. That was a very great fight. I think noticing how far ahead Snaddy was should have been the case for the Sages to back off. They're level 18 currently. That's a 4-level solo lead at 16 minutes. I mentioned before the set even started, trying to play off of Snaddy, trying to get ahead in this solo lane is usually what this team likes to do. Sada Dragon has not been helping, though. It wasn't a gank that did this. It was just Snaddy just being a little bit better in the farm game. Every single wave, just a little bit more, getting those harpies. And now, I mean, look, this is a level 19 Amaterasu at 17 minutes. That's absurd.
Yeah, Amaterasu in a scary spot now. That's a Frostbound Hammer paired with the Shogun's Kusari and the Berserker Shield. Look, itemization is matched. Levels are not, Trelly. And level 19 is 4 levels higher than everyone. 5 in some cases, 3. I don't know. There's a lot there. As the Amaterasu has made a whole world of difference here. Lots of towers still remaining on the map. This might be one of the most impactful Fire Giants we've seen when you look at the amount of towers and amount of gold pockets still remaining on the map. The Tanuki have every ability to just walk this one down and really take this game over. But look at this from Snaddy. Taking a 2v1 fight in mid. Dazzling Offensive gets used, but it's as disengage. The rest of the Tanuki just walking down the tier 2 tower on left.
Snaddy is going to have 4,000 gold when he goes back to base here. I mean, that is just an insane amount of gold just to be sitting on level 20 at 18 minutes. That's one of the fastest levels I think I've ever seen in the SCC right now. So crazy power spike we are about to see for that Amaterasu. Going to upgrade the starter item, get a Cloak of Concentration. That's going to be a big buff and a lot of sustain for the Amaterasu that really she already has in the kit at that point. So now, going to get the gold for the tier 2 tower. Still one more tier 1 in right, as well as both of those tier 2. So the gold league could climb even more if they are able to make use of it. And it looks like they're not going to back up here. They're not going to spend that gold just yet. They're going to go for that mid push now, get a few more of these towers. The Sages, though, they're trying to answer back. They're going to go for the left towers and see if they can answer back some of that gold they're losing.
But the Sages cancel their back and send 2 members back. Snoopy sticks around on the left side of the map. The Tanuki walking down mid. Are we considering a Phoenix Siege? You got 1 minute and 45 seconds left on your Fire Giant buff, and Snaddy is dashed in the back line. Briz deleted by the front line of the Tanuki. Now Jankaru back from the fountain, desperately trying to keep this fight alive. The mid lane Phoenix still stands. The Lightning Storm separates this engagement as Jankaru has to head back to the fountain.
Yeah, they are going to look for this again. Priv pretty weak here, and Snaddy and Sada Dragon are just sitting on the left side of the Phoenix right now. They're not worried at all. Sada Dragon goes in and Priv goes down.
Priv silenced out and no chance to answer back. Jankaru now faced with the mountain that is Snaddy. There's still a mid lane Phoenix. What are the Tanuki looking for here? They are walking into the Titan room of the Sages at 19.5 minutes. Only Jankaru and Snoopy left alive. The Chiron has got to make a miracle play happen. What has just happened? An early Fire Giant turns into a fight, turns into the game. In 19 minutes, in 42 seconds.
Level 17, 17, 16, 17. It was only Snatty who was level 20 there, and they had. It wasn't even.
Snatty was like the only one who was ahead.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't even that much of a lead for anyone else.
What
They
in the
just
world?
looked over at their Amaterasu and said, "You're gonna kill them, all right?" And Snatty's
Wow.
like, "If you want me to." And then they said, "All right, we'll do the rest. We'll get Fire Giant, we'll get the towers, and we'll get the Titan."
That was surprising. You see, because you see like a 17-minute Fire Giant not often, but when you do see it, you're assuming that's going to be a couple towers. We'll set up for the next FG. We'll consider the game on the next FG. No, the Tanuki want to win, and they do it in sub 20 minutes. Game number 1 to the Tanuki. Time for the Sages to retool and bounce back in game 2, which is coming up right after this break.
Glass fill it, cause I need it now. Monday is a in it. I don't wanna think about it. So if you know the song, sing it, cause I need it now. Take me to a place where the music's loud. I don't wanna think right now. Flashing lights running through the crowd. I don't ever wanna stop. So let's get out. Let's get out. I got money in my pocket and I'm about to fucking drop it with you now. With you now. Tear the roof off every building. I know I'll be spending millions with you. Just tell me what you wanna do.
This was not the morning to show up late to the North American SEC. We are 30 minutes into our broadcast, and Game 1 is done in a death segment that lasted almost as long as Game 1. Game 1 closes in about 19 and a half minutes. This is one where everything is even, except for the solo lane. And Amaterasu is 4 or 5 levels ahead of everyone on the Sages, and Snatty and the rest of the Tanuki able to run over game number 1. Trelly, this is sometimes one of the harder games to break down because it's so black and white.
Right.
The Amaterasu got very far ahead, and that turned into a Fire Giant, and that turned into the game in very, very early game time.
Yeah, when usually you think of these solo laners that get ahead, it's like, okay, the jungle came over, got a gank. The solo laner then was able to find a solo kill, keep stealing all this farm. That wasn't really what happened. It was sort of just, there was a gank, but at this point there was already a level lead. It was sort of just Snatty found every single mid camp, every single back camp, all these like little side farm camps, and then it was like, oh, there's a 2-level lead, oh, there's a 3-level lead, and then Snatty rotates in and is able to pretty much finish off everyone. Obviously, Tripno found some crazy amounts of damage with the Lightning Storm. We saw that. I believe Hydrogen was doing pretty well in lane against Snoopy once the defense items got online. But besides that, it was pretty much just this Amaterasu doing this. Priv comes over, tries to peel the Frostbound, and Snatty says, okay, you've handed me another free kill. I'll take that one as well. The triple kill for the Ama at 16 minutes, and the game ends 3 minutes after that.
Yeah, it's a immediate rotation back to the FG. And not much time passes between these highlights. And then Snatty does it again with a dazzling offensive into the back line. And you will see something that you don't often get to see when we get to the post-game stats after these replays. Where no one on the Sages was level 20 by the end of it. I mean, this is actually I think nobody in the game was level 20 if I remember correctly. It was only Snatty at 305 with a triple kill prior to an FG, and then a bunch of assists in the late game team fight in the mid lane. And the Sages just get run over in one fell swoop. I mean, there's not enough time to do any damage. I mean, Snatty and Slash battled with one another in lane. And everyone else was just laning. We're still like trying to get to level 20, trying to get more than one item online. Like, you know, we're still wheeling up into the meat and potatoes of game one, and Snatty just decides to take it over. The battle of the attack speed solo laners is won by Snatty this time around, and that's a very impactful game number one because the Tanuki, such a strong team here in the North American SEC, not a team that turn around a 1-0 lead in their sets into losses very often. And so you have to really zoom out and look at the implications of this now. The Sages have to win 2 straight games in order to not get knocked out of Masters. The Tanuki only need 1 more, and they can get it done here in game number 2. And picks and bans for game number 2 will start up right now. There were some moments where we shined a spotlight on Snoopy and how Snoopy teams in the past have relied on him just getting crazy fed and making big plays. And Snoopy was looking all right early on in that lane, as you'd expect, but never really got an opportunity later on. Tanuki in first pick. I'm wondering here if the Sages have to ban Amaterasu and Bologna, or maybe you have to leave both open because you want Slash to get one of the two. What a unique problem that you're faced with now if you're the Sages.
Yeah, the Tanuki, they are still able to sort of counterban here because, again, the vast majority of the team was not ahead. The Jengaru found some great powwows. Yeah. Riz had some sick damage on the thought. There were still some avenues to look at and go, okay, we can make some changes, but
it's worse.
Clean that is worse. I don't know. I was gonna say you can't really ban out the Amaterasu because I've been watching the Tanuki for what, three full games now. Yeah, they're 2-1. Every single time Snatty does something very similar to that, where the lead is there. The annoying pressure is there. Maybe not the hard carry level 19 end game, but Snatty finds pressure on pretty much any solo pick. So getting pressured into letting Kleina through, I mean, the Sage has got to be backpedaling here.
If this even ends up being a solo lane Kleina, I mean, there's also an Amaterasu, there's also a Bologna, which was the matchup we just saw. Snatty was feeling just fine with the way that one went. Kleina maybe intended to be a jungler, and we've seen her there more often. And so Slash, and I don't know, this is so difficult because don't get it wrong, it's not like Slash died a whole lot in lane. It just got out pressured and all the neutral farm was going to Ama, so it was like a quiet way of losing that laning phase. But we're going to run back the Bologna, feeling like the pick itself wasn't the issue, just the way that some of that laning phase had gone. Tanuki get a lot of burst damage in their first 2 picks here between the Kleina and the Soul.
Challenge me.
And the Amaterasu gets run back here. So talk about a damage duo here, Trelly, or a pressure duo. Kleina and Amaterasu, that can combine for a lot on the right.
Yeah, that's a lot of objective burn. That's a lot of auto attack damage. That's a lot of things you have to worry about if you're the Sages at this point. I have to imagine you're looking for pressure in the jungle to try and shut down this Amaterasu. That's not going to be the answer just yet, though. Just going to pick the Agni, trying to find some sort of range in that lane. The Thoth and the Zeus both taken away. So I think Agni, probably one of the better picks that was available there. Persephone, also something to look at here in at least this wave of bans, because you assume the Soul will be going to ADC once again. We'll have to see if that is what they're looking at here. But already a lot of physical damage for the Tanuki with Kleena and Amaterasu. And then Soul's just a great flex pick there. They're going to ban away Athena, though. They don't want that Medusa ult into the Athena taunt. That's something that can be very annoying to deal with. And it looks like the Sages are going to ban away Tiamat.
Yeah, strong mid lane ban, sensing that this Soul is going over to ADC. I like the Medusa pick here for Snoopy, but this is putting a lot of stock in Snoopy. Again, this is saying Medusa is going to be our strongest pick, alongside Bologna, I suppose, as you 1-2 pick those. And we know Snoopy is going to do well on this Medusa in lane, and then hopefully later on in the game. Now you're going to pair the Medusa with a Nox, and that's something we saw the Tanuki have some success with already with the Nox support. Remember, it was Sobek plus Chiron that really bought Snoopy pressure in the early laning phase there, and then a Merlin confirmed Soul over to ADC. So what do we think here? What we assume to be a Nox Medusa duo lane. You think that can find some pressure?
Yeah, I think just the Shadow Lock into Viper Shot is going to be a lot of damage. But I was going to mention the fact that Geb is actually still available. Usually when Nox gets picked, that Geb is banned away, and there's a reason. The Stone Shield pretty much just interrupts the full combo of Nox, so it's going to be hard to find that success in lane, as Susanoo is going to be the last pick here, trying to find that pressure in the jungle. It's going to be interesting to see if you put that pressure, use that kill force into that Soul lane, because again, if Snatty gets a lead, it's going to be very difficult to deal with. We just witnessed what this Amaterasu is able to do with a little bit of a gold lead, and now you have a Geb shield trying to keep your team safe, and you have Kleena in the jungle. In my head, the Tanuki draft just looks better than last time, and now they're up 1-0. So it's going to be hard for the Sages to try to bring this one back now.
Agreed. The Sages have their avenues to find a win here in game number 2. Can they do it? Remember, this one's important. They have to do it to avoid being knocked out of Masters. The Sages do. Tanuki with a 1-0 lead send us into game number 2 with all the momentum in the world on the back end of a 19.5-minute win in game number 1. As Dulcin, Trelly, and Doug will be with you potentially just one more time. I'm excited about the jungle battle in this one, Trelly. Susano, always exciting for me to watch. And later on in the game, the playmaking potential, I think, from both of these junglers near an all-time high.
Yeah, Jengaru with the blink as well, so probably trying to get active very early on in this game. When you lose a game in 19 minutes, you probably want to reevaluate how much pressure you were finding in the game prior. So Jengaru is saying, hey, we're going to look for some kills early on. The fact that you're up against a Merlin is always going to be nice, because you can find some early pressure there. Merlin not going to come online for some time. Tripno does go with that Conduit Gem over the Sands of Time, trying to help the early clear of Merlin, because it's not very good at the level 2 to, I'd say, like 9. You really want some points in your abilities before you're full clearing the wave. You also use a lot of mana trying to clear that wave. But Briz, though, has not been getting so much pressure, been just sort of left alone in this mid lane right now. So sitting at that tower line, and I can see exactly why Jengaru was in this lane, trying to shut down Snatty early, not really giving any avenue to find that extra farm that he got last game.
Yeah, difference in the jungle mindset. Sada Dragon and Tripno sit mid, as Jengaru and Slash over in solo lane. So relative pressure there. Puts Briz a bit on the back foot, puts Snatty a bit on the back foot. Over on the other side, as eventually the junglers will start to rotate out and make their own plays happen here. I look over towards the duo lane as well, Trelly. That's something to be looked out for. Snoopy does have early pressure in this lane, as we would expect up against a Geb and a Soul. Yeah, Snatty has to dash away here. But there's still that kind of tipping point, right, where Priv makes a play happen, cleansed out by the Stone Shield. Hydrogen gets the ultimate online for some big burst damage. I don't imagine we'll see too many early 2v2 kill potentials, but the junglers I don't think will shy away from making their way over to this lane.
No, definitely not. But Monster Bomber, I think, itemizes this pretty perfectly here. The beads on Geb when you're into Nox is pretty substantial. You want to make sure that if you are getting silenced out, that you can still, immune that and get the shield down if
Right.
you need to, because if not, the lockdown is too crazy. It looks like Jengaru, though, will be showing up at this blue
There you
buff
go.
pretty much immediately. And where is Sada Dragon right now? In duo lane, trying to help out over there on the left side of the map. So leaving Snaddy alone on the
Wow.
island right now and trying to find pressure elsewhere. But it looks like they don't really care right now. Priv is stepping up to this purple buff, not afraid.
Yeah, my goodness, this is a clean 3 versus 2, and Priv is stopping backs between the tier 1 and the tier 2 tower, taking a lot of minion damage. Dashes away, silence is out. This has got to be punished. Priv has just been playing way too far forward. Silence through. There's your damage. There's your first blood. In the meantime, Jengaru at least able to steal some farm away on the right side of the jungle. Tripno, realizing this is going on, though, wants to gap close, but Jengaru mobile enough. I figured that had to happen, right? I mean, Priv was backstopping between a tier 1 and a tier 2 tower, and the Tanuki finally had enough.
Yeah, that sort of reminded me of the old invade meta where supports would just run at the junglers. Even if you die, you're setting them back so much by letting their back camps get invaded, their speed buff taken away, something like that, where Priv's just like, yeah, I'm going to die, but I've kept Sada Dragon here for so long, maybe it'll still end up being worth it right now. The Tanuki have a very minuscule gold lead off of that first blood right now, just 225, so not even the full amount of that first blood bounty, so maybe it will be worth it right now. You're looking at Sada Dragon did tick over to level 5 before Jengaru, so has the ultimate available, but now Jengaru has matched that, so where will this jungle put that pressure? Where will the Susanoo go? I still imagine over to the Soul lane. Slash has teleport, whereas Snaddy has beats, so Snaddy does not have the beats currently, is a little bit susceptible to the gank, but has dazzling offensive if he is just trying to immune the pull or the knockup from Typhoon. Trying to stay very safe in this lane, at least for right now. Not too much defense online just yet.
Snaddy a little bit behind over in solo lane as of now, maybe about just half a level. Slash was level 6 a bit before Snaddy ended up reaching level 6. I imagine we'll see very similar builds out of the solo laners. Worked for Snaddy in game 1. Slash never really got a fair shake at it because of how far ahead Snaddy was, but Berserker Shield, Frostbound, Shoguns, those sorts of things work so well. Dazzling Offensive gets used, so he still takes the damage from the Typhoon, but ends up dashing away. Hydrogen is low, and Snoopy just needs a little bit more. Snoopy's got it, and the Sages find a 2v2 on left. And it looks like a purple buff will go over as well. Sada Dragon rotating in, though, Trelly. Could make something happen here on the Priv, who's only level 4.
But missed both of those abilities and then just channeled the back. So Sada Dragon not going to be too interested in finding that one. It was Snaddy who confirmed that blue buff through all of those ultimates. So at least getting a little bit of farm in this lane. I'm trying to keep my eye on this Amaterasu. Tripno, though, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, Tripno. Yeah, you'd think Tripno was on the wrong side of the map, but it's anything but. Sada Dragon at least able to rotate through and return kill. And actually, the worst case scenario here is that Snaddy now has some time to free farm in that lane.
And that blue buff.
And the blue buff will go over as well. Slash does have teleport, but the blue buff is going to be gone, and Snaddy is going to pull back to even, maybe just a bit ahead, with the blue buff being given over to the Amaterasu. So Tripno, in his own jungle, gets jumped on, but the repercussions as far as the map state goes, potentially impactful over in solo. But still a nice lead so far for the Athenian Sages. 1,000 gold and about 2,000 XP.
Yeah, I think Snaddy will be able to invade these back camps as well, so a lot of farm going the way of the Amaterasu once again. Priv, though, probably spotted this out immediately and wants to try and confirm those. And it's not going to happen. Snaddy's going to eat a little bit of damage. Slash is coming over as well, but here comes Sada Dragon. Will they try to collapse here, or is this just an escape route? Snaddy will just run away, so no more fighting in that regard. But Snoopy, definitely the biggest lead on the map currently, is 1-0. Against Hydrogen's 1-1, but 2-level lead for this Medusa will be pretty annoying to deal with in this lane. I imagine Hydrogen not wanting to take those trades anymore.
Well, it's a perfect script, isn't it? We've already mentioned like 6 times about how Snoopy teams love when Snoopy gets ahead, because Snoopy's the type who can make big plays and just win games when you give him a little bit of a lead. A 3-level lead now, as Hydrogen will absorb the wave and maybe catch just a little bit back up. And that has repercussions on Gold Furies, things like that, as the Sages will send 4 over to the purple buff. A 3-level lead's not enough. We got to send 4 people over to the left side of the map just to make sure that Snoopy grabs this purple buff. And I think a Gold Fury has got, you know, potential next couple of minutes impact for the Sages when Snoopy is this far ahead. Because I feel like, Trelly, you want to get this 3-level lead involved in some way. It's nice to have, But you want to convert it into something real on the map.
Yeah, if you're not making use of that 3-level lead, then what's the point of having it? At the moment, Hydrogen just sort of starving the wave, making Snoopy push up this far to make sure he's getting his own farm. So Hydrogen probably not going to be leaving too often, but Jengaru is heading over here, and I would not be surprised if they did try to go for some sort of action on this side of the map where Snoopy is level 10 currently.
Right.
Highest on the map by at least one against those solo laners, so a lot of damage coming out of this Medusa. Once the purple buff goes down, they have the damage to burn this Gold Fury, but do they have the burst to confirm it? Probably not. Right now, there's a lot of different confirm tools on the map. Tripno can be very disruptive with his with the Merlin abilities, as well as the fact that you have Typhoon on the map. The Kalina ults could be annoying, so I don't think any 50-50s are going to be on the table just yet. Trying to get Snoopy a little bit more ahead, maybe level 12 sort of then. They could probably try to force something, but it looks like they're just looking for as much farm on this side of the map as possible. Playing around this Fed Medusa is definitely going to be the name of the game.
Yeah, agreed. Look at the concern of the Fed Medusa. Tripno Monster Bomber thought they might be able to catch somebody from the Sages out. Not to be. The concern of the Medusa, though, maybe at an all-time high in mid, where Divine Ruin immediately into what looks like could be a Breastplate of Valor or something of the like after that for Tripno. We sometimes see some flexibility. Well, here's a way to make a play happen. Snoopy hanging out by the red buff. Monster Bomber is going to unknowingly walk into a lot of this, but now the 4 versus 4 is known. Solo laners hanging out over on the right side of the map still. Snoopy takes some damage. Hydrogen pulled back in, and the Sages add another kill. Red buff gets dropped down by the Sages as well. And now in a pretty obvious fight. We knew that one was coming, but Hydrogen walked into it.
Yeah, they probably tried to defend their red buff. I mean, they obviously tried to defend the red buff, but losing your life there, probably not the best option at the moment. It looks like Snatty will take away the jungle camps again in that back. I'm constantly keeping my eye on the farm game of this Amaterasu. Level 11 right now, so 1 level over Slash. Has not made the rotation in to help out the squad yet. But right now, I think you probably need to. I mean, you're looking at the defense items. You only haven't finished that Frostbound just yet. That's really going to hurt some of Snoopy's damage ability if you could get to this Medusa. And I think that's going to be the real time that Tanuki will want to try to fight when Snatty makes this rotation. Because right now, again, it seems like anywhere this Medusa is, they're losing those fights. Every single buff spawn they're going to be grouped up for. The left side of the map is just a no-play zone for the Tanuki, at least for right now.
Yep. Snatty's actually a decent amount of gold behind, despite having a slight experience lead. It's 400 or 500 gold that Slash has over Snatty. And when you consider finishing important items like the Frostbound coming up next for Slash, that's important in these next couple of team fights. Those small advantages, teleports down, but once the teleport's up, you have that as an advantage as well. And so the half level is nice. The one to half level is nice for Snatty, but net worth hasn't been trickling in that direction quite as effectively so far. Tripno was able to remain safe just a moment ago. As the damage scaling on one side of the mid lane, potentially a little bit more impactful. Divine Ruin Trelly into what could be something like a Chronos Pendant to get close to capping up some of that CDR for Briz.
Yeah, I think Briz does like this Chronos Pendant build, just trying to get as much CDR, as many bombs as possible, that sort of thing. Tripno, though, I think realizes there's a lot of physical damage on the other side. We already touched on Snoopy's damage. We already touched on the fact that Jengaru found him out in the jungle, so Slash as well is going to be doing a lot. So the Breastplate of Valor going to help out a bit, but stunting a little bit of that power spike, as we mentioned. It looks like Priv, though, finds the Shadow Lock, and the Stone Shield is down, but there's 4 here at this purple buff, and they're going to try to fight.
Snoopy does take a decent bit of damage. It's an early ult out from Priv, and this really just to disengage the fight as the Sages invade yet another purple buff. I don't think Hydrogen's gotten a purple buff in the last couple of rotations. Another Celestial Legion Pythag start for the Soul. 4 levels down now as Snoopy gets some more golden experience. 3. Hydrogen will reach level 10, but the gap remaining pretty constant over on left. I suppose you're really hoping that eventually you can catch Snoopy a bit off guard. Snoopy tries to do too much, and your team is able to capitalize. But I'm interested, I'm intrigued, I'm surprised maybe that the Tanuki have realized that this is happening on left, and chosen that, all right, Snoopy's just too far ahead. That's 4 levels. There's not much we can do about that. And B, I haven't necessarily tried to make anything happen anywhere else.
Yeah, Sad Dragon probably not even wanting to fight the Medusa at this point. 2 levels down. Kalina's good, but a lot of the damage is hard to confirm, and it's all sort of, it's not really bursty except for the ultimate and the second ability, so you really want to make sure that you have a lot of help. I don't think Hydrogen could even hit that much damage onto Snoopy as long as he's juking and jiving. He's got his dash to get away from that as well. Supernova's pretty hard to confirm unless there's some CC, which Kleina just unfortunately does not have. So trying to gank this duo lane right now, probably not your best option. Just let Hydrogen farm up as much as possible. Let Soul sort of get second relics online maybe. You have the sustain, you have the lifesteal in lane as well as the safety that Soul brings, so you don't want to post up too far here. Monster Bomber, though, is sort of sitting around this duo lane just in case Jangaru comes over or Priv tries to find some sort of pressure. Frizz, though, is doing a lot of damage at the moment on this Agni. Has that Chronos Pendant finish, double relics online, whereas Tribno did go for that breastplate as well. So they have the same amount of cooldown, give or take, besides the Sands of Time and the resets from Chronos Pendant. They just don't have the same amount of damage. Breastplate of Valor really not doing too much, but the survivability for Tribno right now.
Yeah, this is the... I'm hoping our team can survive for another little while and get some items online, close this gap to Snoopy at some point. As Snoopy has just had 2 purple buffs on cooldown. That's a nice takeaway. The Tanuki grab Pyromancer, and so prevents the gold lead from getting too much worse, as the uptick is actually pretty decent there. Maybe about a halving of the gold lead for the Tanuki, whether that was stolen away or just taken. Either way, the result's the same, and the Tanuki get it back in their side of the map. Important in delaying things down. That might be the name of victory here for the Tanuki, Trelly, is just delaying out this game and getting to a spot where you're strong enough to fight up against Snoopy. Sada Dragon's well underway to that, as there's a 2-level lead for Sada Dragon over Jangaru. Not quite the 4-level lead that Snoopy has, but if you can make something happen here, your life gets a lot easier. Sada Dragon behind Snatty as we're diving the tier 1 tower. Priv nearly gets taken down, sends out the ult. Couple ults traded by the Tanuki and back away with no kills.
Yeah, the stun on a Priv was good. Maybe they try to dive that one, but still having the ult and the CC immunity available. Not wanting to dive that tower, probably a smart bet. I think if Snatty does die there from taking up that tower, you're definitely losing Gold Fury and possibly a lot more at the moment. So not wanting to dive that one, I think a smart call by the Tanuki. You still have a few avenues back into this game. But man, look at this 4-level lead consistently for Snoopy. Every time Hydrogen is just left alone in this lane to try and find some sort of farm, I just look over and Snoopy is still 4 levels ahead. So that's going to be consistent for quite some time. The kin size is finished, and now 5-level lead at the moment. Level 17 for Snoopy at 15 minutes, which is pretty much the opposite of what Snatty was last game.
Right.
About the same level of farm. But the kin size, the Aussie, the Crusher, that is going to help shred through some of this defense that Monster Bomber has, the Sovereignty, the Gauntlet of Thebes, and Snatty just with the Berserker Shield, and a lot of HP, give or take. But Sada Dragon getting poked out here by Slash is going to have to back away. Still, though, 3 strong are the Sages, 4 strong, actually, in the jungle, and probably going to take away another one of Hydrogen purple buffs.
Yeah, this is not Hydrogen's purple buff, Trelly. That's Snoopy's second purple buff, as we've learned over the last couple of minutes. Flicker away, and Beads by Tripno prevents any further death from happening. I mean, you're right. We've talked plenty about the level lead that Snoopy has, but build-wise, he is just so strong as well. I mean, the chin size compared to the not completed ring yet. Gold Fury, and this is what we wondered. It would only be a matter of time as the Sages do take down the Gold Fury. It would only be a matter of time before the Sages say, okay, we've got enough of a lead over here. Let's group up and take down the Fury, and that's exactly what happens. And I'm glad it finally happened. I was wondering when it would, Trelly, but maybe the opening was enough there. The itemization difference was finally enough, and the Gold Fury just gets brute forced.
Yeah, if you're not going to do anything with this level 18 Medusa, there's no point in having it. And finally, they are able to do something with it, but it looks like Slash may have stepped up a little bit too far. Sada Dragon recognizes it as well and will try to gank the Bellona here. Still has the ult available, and now the chase will begin. That's a lot of damage, though.
Got to be a kill here, and it is. Snatty resumes the killing in 16 minutes. Another kill finally drops Jangaru. He's over on the right side of the map. That Aegis works wonders for Sada Dragon, but now Snatty back into the fight. Monster Bomber is here as well. Silence onto Priv, and look at the damage out of the Amaterasu and the Kleina. The Serrated Edge doing a lot of work there, as well as Shogun's Kusari for Snatty and Sada Dragon. All right, so the Tanuki get the ball rolling a bit on the right side of the map as the 1-level lead in jungle and now 2-level lead in solo start to grow.
this is the same sort of style. I mean, Snoopy is way more ahead than last game, but Snatty now is a 2-level lead, as you mentioned. I'd like to see the net worth because Snatty was still behind in gold this whole time, as you mentioned. Finally climbs ahead. They're only about, not much, about 100 gold, give or take, so not enough to really make a difference, but the level lead will be impactful, Dave. I mean, once that upgraded starter comes through, Snatty will have a ton more sustain. And Snoopy's second purple buff has spawned in here, and Hydrogen mistakenly thought it was his for a second. We'll have to back away and not going to go for that one. Snoopy gets another one.
Oh my god.
And I imagine level 20 just on the horizon for this Hunter at about 18 minutes, give or take. And then we're going to see a lot more damage coming out of this Medusa. Looks like the red buff is already gone, though, so don't have to worry about that one.
250 XP is all Snoopy needs. Sada Dragon has to dash away from this fight as Monster Bomber sends the Cataclysm forward, and Snoopy has reached level 20, and that was sub 18 minutes. That was before the 18-minute mark. Snoopy reached level 20, goes back, fully buys a Death's Embrace, and the tier 1 bow. My god, this Medusa is scary if you haven't gotten that point just yet. I do think, though, that the closing of the gold gap is sneaky impactful over in the solo lane, though, because Snatty, who, as we already mentioned, was ahead in XP but behind in gold, I mean, the relative swing of now being like 200 ahead is like 700 or 800 gold when you were 400 or 500, 600 gold behind before. And so Snatty right back into a strong position as the solo lane builds back to mirroring one another. Primal Fury pulled yet again by the Sages. This time, though, no mistake made. And the Sages get both the Gold Fury and the Pyromancer. This is maybe the best Hydrogen can do, Trelly, is just sit in lane, try to catch up in XP, try to get some team gold for the Tanuki. And get some waves pushing.
Yeah, Hydrogen has no way of knowing this, but tier 2 tower could be on the horizon. But Snoopy and Slash are going to pull this Fire Giant. The Tanuki are well aware of this, but I don't think they can defend. That's so much damage from Snoopy.
And a lot of it connecting onto Snatty. Hydrogen stays over on the left side of the map. Nobody is going to go back. So the Sage is now being delayed while Hydrogen getting a free push over on left. Something has got to work out here. If you're the Sages, you've engaged now onto Snatty, but the dazzling offensive way is effective. And so no Fire Giant pull in a tier 2 tower. Over to Hydrogen. Blink used, teleport used by Slash. Snatty has to use the beads and the ultimate. But the Tanuki grabbed themselves some good gold.
Hydrogen finally got a purple buff, and it was Snoopy's first one, so taking that away, a massive win for this soul right now. They do get a fair bit of gold as well, so that's going to help out. Sad Dragon ticks over to level 19. You're right to say that this is just working in the Tanuki's favor right now. The lead has always been for the Sages. They've always had that pressure, but letting Hydrogen farm up to level 17, get that tier 2 tower, and no Fire Giant was gained. I mean, you get the Pyromancer, but definitely not as big of a win there. So now the question remains, are the Tanuki going to do anything with answering back this, or do they just want to sit around? Because right now, Monster Bomber is still level 12, does have the shell now in the bead, so no sort of blink initiation. They're really relying on Snatty to make those sort of plays, and Snoopy does not have that Silver Branch bow just yet, so not enough penetration really. We saw how much damage Snatty takes though, so Snatty is certainly killable, but will finally tick over to level 20. I'd say Primal Fury's got about 20 seconds give or take, so still Snoopy is on that left side of the map. They're not ready for the Fire Giant plays just yet.
What a unique situation we've got laid before us here, where you can tell Snoopy like desperately wants to get involved in this game because of how far ahead he's been. And the Sage is still sitting on 3 kills. Now the gold, again, the gold has built up. They've taken a lot of the neutral objectives. There's going to be a Primal Fury here soon. So it's not if the Sages haven't been doing anything. But the gap just sneaky, ever closing between the ADCs. Now the soul lane and the jungle very far ahead for the Tanuki. And so that's why I feel like this is so unique. On one side, you've got one massive lead, but then you got a couple decent-sized leads on the other side, 3 and 2 levels respectively. Snatty can make all the difference in the world here as Primal Fury gets pulled. Briz and Priv behind Snatty, who takes next to no damage, if not literally no damage, from all of that initiation. Stone Shield from Monster Bomber helping out. This would be an interesting fight, Trelly. Everything on the line over at Primal Fury.
Yeah, Hydrogen has a big wave to clear back there near the tier 2 tower and will just farm up at this point. Not grouping on the Primal Fury now. They're sort of stepping up here, but it looks like it's going to clear mid waves. No one is ready to pull this one just yet. I didn't really even notice how far Jengaru was, level 17 just then. So
Yeah.
you're right to mention that the sway of everything right now. But Sad Dragon finished the Bumba Spear upgrade, so that's going to be a ton of extra damage on this cleaner right now. I was wondering how much Sad Dragon is able to do in these fights. Once you get a little bit of healing online, Clean is able to stay in the wall a little bit longer, do a little bit more damage. In this case, can heal up a little bit more off the buff camps, but didn't opt to go for that Soul Eater build. Finally, the Sages are going to pull the Primal Fury. This one's going to go down for free, though, because no one from the Tanuki is around here.
No, Jengaru's going to have to head on back. But look, we so often talk about leads and playing around them, things like that. It was a 5-level lead for Snoopy that's now 1, because you can only get to level 20 once. You can't keep going from there, and Hydrogen has slowly been closing up that gap. Rod of Tahuti now finished for the Soul. And so it's this weird scenario, Trelly, where the Sages, they still have a 2,000 gold lead, and we can't just ignore that. They are very strong at this point in the game. But it's kind of this unspoken, just sort of delaying of the game by the Tanuki that have gotten me slightly concerned for the Sages. I mean, the one big team fight that we'll eventually see will ultimately be the difference maker. But the fact that this game is slowed down and a lot of the big gaps have been closed does have me slightly worried for the Sages. However, it looks like a Fire Giant fight is over the horizon here, Trellian, at 23 minutes. Maybe as close as we've been. Almost everyone outside of the supports in the game at level 20. That means all those level gaps, whether it's for the Tanuki or the Sages, have closed up.
Yeah, Slash also, mirroring the build here, will finish up that Death's Embrace and a Tier 1 breastplate. So a little bit tankier than Snatty, at least in this very moment.
Yeah.
Just that Tier 1 breastplate's worth. But looking at the builds again, Sad Dragon is a large power spike here. The Heartseeker would go a long way if he is able to back and finish that one up. Tripno finishes up that gem, so there's going to be a lot more movement speed, damage mitigations, that sort of thing with that upgrade. Tripno very strong right now on this Merlin, finally hitting level 20. Brits has not upgraded the starter, so there's a few more power spikes to have. The Sages will take the Pyromancer, but that's not really the concern right now. There's a bigger neutral objective on this side of the map that everyone wants, and it's the Fire Giant. Sad Dragon is wrapping around. I'm curious to see where this cleaner will go if the Sages are trying to pull this. Do you go into the Fire Giant wall, try to get some poke from there? Do you simply just walk from behind and see what you can get out? We'll have to see. Snatty is the front of this engagement.
Of course he is, right? Stone Shield works wonders for Snatty. He's taken a lot of damage, but also dodged out a lot of damage. I mean, there's a lot thrown towards Snatty there, who end up backing away just fine. Tripno has Obsidian Shard online, and that means this Merlin, if left alone, can wreak havoc on health bars, but so can Snatty. Dazzling offensive, forces beads and ultimates out of a couple. Snatty now left running, but Briz drops the hammer over the wall. And the first kill of the fight over to the Sages, but there are low health bars on the Sages side of the map as well. You don't love losing Snatty, but you love the damage that was done in return. But it's the opening kill to the Sages in 45 seconds without Amaterasu.
Slash is able to upgrade the teleport and teleport back in if need be, and that won't be the case. The teleport will come through, but not the upgrade. 4 strong are the Tanuki. They had enough damage to maybe try and pull this, but I think they recognize immediately. Slash is going to get here very quickly, and we can't just burn through this balloon. It'll take far too long. Slash, though, is standing between 4 at the moment. Everyone from the Sages is grouping up around this Fire Giant. They still have a few burst tools to try and get down. Supernova, a great steal potential, and Sad Dragon's Whales are going to do a lot, but Monster Bomber's getting taken down.
Oh no, Monster Bomber, body block, Stone Shield helping, Cataclysm does well. Watch out though, Hydrogen has some good damage in this fight as well. Silence onto Slash, ultimate out of Hydrogen, and somehow everyone on the Tanuki is surviving, but not much longer. That pull is huge from Jengaru, and the Sages get themselves another pick. This is right when Snatty is respawned, so it remains a 4 versus 5, but still no FG pull for the Sages.
Yeah, Snatty is back at this point. They have some low health bars. Snoopy had the Death's Embrace and Aussie to try and heal up here, but not going to be the option. They have to just back up, reset, and try again. I mean, at this point, the respawn timers are not so much. Sad Dragon 30 seconds, but besides that, it's a 5v4 right now, and it's going to take them a few seconds to run back over here to Fire Giant. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see another FG dance once Sad Dragon joins the fight. I mean, 20 seconds to go. Probably can get here very quickly. Snoopy is already here, though, and it's possible they will try to pull this. Monster Bomber recognizes it, loses the ward vision, and now they're just watching.
Alternate timeline added for Briz, who doesn't have beads or Aegis for another 45 seconds. So it's a strong relic upgrade anyway. Another pull in onto Monster Bomber, and right as Sad Dragon respawns, the Tanuki lose another member of their team. Now the Fire Giant a bit more fully committed on being shredded down by the Sages. And the Tanuki give us all we need to know. There is no contest, and the FG will go to the Sages.
Yeah, they are finally going to get this objective for themselves, and they're just going to back off, not staying on too long. You don't want to lose any of these Fire Giant buffs right now. You are up 5-4. Without the support, you do have some avenue to fight, but I think the gold is going to be a little bit more impactful than trying to get another pick. So Snoopy leads the charge very far ahead of the rest of the squad, and will go for this first Tier 2 tower on right. Obviously, if you're the Tanuki, split pushing left is a possibility, but you want to try and group up and defend these. I don't think your fight is so far lost. As long as your relics are coming back up, you have about 60 seconds on Sad Dragon's Aegis, but the beads are up in about 3, and it looks like the way they're posturing here, the Sages may try to go for this Phoenix on right side. Sad Dragon stuck in the wall.
Yeah, this is awkward. I mean, he can hang out in there for a little while. And can the rest of the Tanuki rally around their jungler? Sad Dragon plays that so effectively. Snatty on the front line, the silence is through, but now the Amaterasu into the ultimate. Look at the health bars of the Sages. And the dazzling offensive does serious work, but now the Tanuki can collapse in. Snoopy, the Medusa's had a lead all game long, but now falls on the first death of this siege.
They have the Amaterasu movement speed. They can chase this down very effectively. Sad Dragon is wrapping around as well, but they have a lot of peel from the Nox. I think the chase is going to be good. They have to fight this. The Sages cannot get out.
The slow, it's big from Tripno, who flickers forward, drops the ice form. Silence out from Privative. Sad Dragon out of the wall. Silence connects, cancels the jump out. Pulled back in by Jangaru, but that'll cost him his life as Sad Dragon returns the favor from the grave. 3 members left of the Sages, left running as Tripno might be the MVP of this fight. The Merlin has pulled back in the Sages so many times, whether it's ice or whether it's a purple stance. Briz is going to have to dash away yet again. Another dazzling offensive. This time it gets canceled out. And now Snatty and the rest of the Tanuki into the Sages base. This is a Fire Giant defense from the Tanuki that'll grab him 4 kills.
There's way too many towers up on this side of the map. There's no exposed Phoenix to go for. The left side one is the only one they could try and make an attempt on, and I don't think they want to do that. The respawn from Snoopy is already too good. They might go for a consolation prize. The Primal Fury would be pretty solid here if you are the Tanuki. Your gold still does matter at this point. You're not quite full build. Privative, the only one with Fire Giant buff around his belt at the moment. So you pretty much effectively wasted that FG. You got 1 Tier 2, which, you know, isn't terrible, but at this point you probably wanted that Phoenix. And now the Tanuki are able to come back into this game. They can get a lot of upgrades here. They vastly have all their relics. Pretty much the only relics used were the Athenian Sages. Of course, Snatty used Blink and Beads. And then, of course, Hydrogen also used Aegis and Beads. Besides that, though, your carries, they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, your carries are feeling A-okay. Tripno really stands out to me in that final fight. And, you know, it was a lot of damage, of course. But it was the reinitiation, the slowdown, the pulls in from the Merlin. I mean, by the time you get to this point in the game, they're going to be so impactful. And climbs up the damage charts as well. And now we're on a knife's edge, like truly. Privative was a little bit ahead of Monster Bomber. That kind of flips around going in to this next fight. Sort of equal there. Feels like every other build on the map is equal. It's about who can find the engage, who can find a pick. Right now, the Tanuki unconcerned with the fact that Fire Giant is still 1.5 minutes away, and the shred of Hydrogen at this point in the game will destroy towers.
Yeah, it looks like Hydrogen does have the Diamond Arrow. Sad Dragon, though, very weak as Snatty goes in.
Oh, it's happened again as Sad Dragon baits in the Sages. Snatty avoids the stun. Damage out from Merlin. Double Petrify from Snoopy. Does serious work for the Sages. Now Jangaru blinks back forward. The dash is through. Cataclysm slows down. Knocks up 4 members of the Sages. Monster Bomber desperately running, but can't run fast enough. Some good return damage from Tripno as the Sages run through the fire. But 45 seconds on Monster Bomber's respawn as the Sages find a pick.
And that is a massive pick there, but Fire Giant's not up for 55 seconds. Monster Bomber will have 20 seconds to roll out over to Fire Giant once that comes through. I mean, the only thing I can look at right now is the relic usage. Obviously, you get Jangaru's, Blink. There's a few different things there. Briv uses everything in that fight. You get Sad Dragon's Aegis, but besides that, it's looking vastly similar. You just have to that one pick, and the Fire Giant is still going to be up. That's enhanced Fire Giant now, Dave. It's 31 minutes into the game. Yep. This is really the end-all, be-all. This could be the last objective we see pulled in this whole game. Sad Dragon, though, will have to dash away as Priv is already trying to get some vision towards this enhanced Fire Giant, recognizing how important it is Finally, Monster Bomber spawns in. Gonna have to get over here as quickly as possible, but looking at where the rest of the Sages are near that speed bump, I don't think it's gonna be pulled right away.
Yeah, I think you got to recontextualize the game in a moment like this. Remember, if the Tanuki win this game too, the Sages are out of contest for going to Smite Masters. If the Sages win this game too, we'll go on to a game 3, and things remain interesting with just the way the standings have broken down here in the North American SEC. That's a lot of damage out of Jangaru. Plenty of penetration laid on in that build. Titan's Bane melts through the health bar of Snatty, who doesn't have teleport. You'd love to go back and heal up, but you're Amaterasu. You're going to heal up anyway around these jungle camps. It looks like the Sages slightly more aggressive in their positioning around this enhanced Fire Giant. Alternate timeline already popped by Briz, and that's an important relic to now have down. You're still going to get the stats, but you don't get the passive, which is important, and a second wind in a lot of these fights. Sages will walk forward. Where's Sada Dragon going all the way around the backside, hovering by the wall. What's the game plan here from the Kleedna to avoid being spotted by the wave? I don't see any pings on the back line. Sada Dragon.
No. I thought
He walks
Jangaru
over
saw
a
that
ward.
one.
Yes, there are pings now onto Sada Dragon. So the Kleedna has been spotted. But the exact positioning, you know, it could be in any of these walls, and you see how the Sages have to position as Sada Dragon is rotated all the way through mid. There's your damage, and here's your engage as Snatty with the dazzling offensive led out by the Stone Shield. Slash is low on the right side of this fight. There hasn't been the damage from Tripno or the carries just yet. Sada Dragon will live, and Tripno's on a killing spree. The Merlin alone on the front line flickers away, and the Sages lose their solo and half of their HP.
Tanuki did get the pick there, but so much HP goes down. They're still not able to make a pull on this enhanced Fire Giant. They do have the time where they're able to back up, but remember, Slash has the teleport available. If they take too long trying to pull this, it will still be a 5v5.
Do you just immediately pull?
I think they have to. They're going to go in there as quickly as possible. Snatty stayed, Tripno stayed, Hydrogen stayed. They're going to go for this pull here. Snoopy didn't even back. It's about half HP currently. Will not be able to heal up until any of these camps spawn in, and Snatty's going to pull. They have the Alma passive. They're going to go for this. It's a 5v4.
You have a lot of shred between Hydrogen and Tripno. Enhanced Fire Giant. It's taken low, and it's confirmed by the Tanuki. Now Snoopy is silenced and dashed on by Snatty. Dazzling offensive stuns out the Medusa, but there's an Aegis on the other side, and it's happening again. The team that secures the FG might just lose it on the other side unless the carries can make the big plays happen. Jangaru's got a double kill. Hydrogen and Monster Bomber left disengaging. Privative has some CC here. Hydrogen dodges it out. Jangaru dashes forward. Briz is low on right. Hydrogen has got so much damage here as we're balancing on a knife's edge. Slash back from base. Teleports through, tries to get the slow onto Hydrogen. Jangaru's on a killing spree, and Monster Bomber will be the last one to fall. Does this end the game? Does this send the Sages onto a game 3?
I think that will. There's a lot of time on these respawns, about 24 seconds from Snatty and Sada Dragon, but it looks like they're not going to go for the end here. Yeah, they have the minions. I think Sada Dragon is going to be up just in time.
Sada Dragon, yeah, they're close. Tripno 20 seconds away. Briz is low. Gotta get a Phoenix at least. I don't think you have time to fully end the game here. Not when your health bars are this low. Snatty and Sada Dragon are going to respawn. And so, the game goes on. I think you just need to lose the Fire Giant at this point if you want to win the game. The Sages get the first of the game, have a horrible first FG, get pushed back. That gives the Tanuki a footing back. No, the Tanuki secure the FG, but end up losing the fight. Relics used perfectly there. And the Sages pick the priority targets and keep themselves on the map, keep themselves in the game, and they get the right side Phoenix.
The Sages do have the Oni Fury here. They could get that. Obviously, no one has the Enhanced Fire Giant buff anymore, so there's really no more outlets to try and get some pressure except for that Oni Fury. You already have the Fire minions in right. An Oni Fire Wave would do a lot of damage to that Titan if left undefended here. It is the best Phoenix to have, I would say, in this instance. But if you're looking for a team fight right now, if you are the Sages who are just going to run it down left, probably get this tier 2 tower and try to go for a Phoenix, someone's going to have to push up this right wave and get back immediately. It's still pretty far away from where they're trying to find this 5v5. So if you are the Tanuki, you got to clear this wave immediately and run back, but they're not going to clear that Oni Fire wave. The Sages can probably just wait that out, wait for it to go into the Titan, and then try to go for this Phoenix.
They have mid lane tier 2 tower. That'll buy some time. Take a look at the relics. Tripno without Aegis for 30. Hydrogen 45 without Aegis. Whereas on the other side, the Sage is much healthier in the relic department. Bede's also missing from Monster Bomber. Stone Shield has done some work so far this game. But we're even. I mean, level 19 for Monster Bomber, but what's that one extra level going to do at this point in the game? Everyone else nearly entirely full build outside of the supports. All the starters upgraded. Relics mostly upgraded. Who can play the fight better determines the fate of the rest of this phase of the SEC for both of the Sages and the Tanuki, at least for this game, at least in game number 2. Easy poke damage for Sada Dragon could also make a big difference. You can chunk down one of these squishies. Could turn a fight around. I've loved what I've seen from Jangaru, though, Trelly. At 6-1 and 5, the Susanoo's put together a great performance.
Oh, yeah, a lot of burst damage coming out of the Susanoo, but look at that Fire Oni wave. It's already in the Titan room, and Sada Dragon has to go back to defend, so that's the go button. They're going for this Phoenix now, and it's getting shredded.
Oh, but Snatty wants the backline, and Snatty has found the backline, but there is no carry support for damage. Sada Dragon back from the Titan room. There's going to be a Fire Wave on the Titan here in just a moment. Somebody might have to go back and deal with that. The Titan can deal with it on its own if need be, but you're going to lose some health on your big objective. And the Sages, uninterested in continuing their push here. They've got half of the HP missing. So Snatty is stunned, and Snatty doesn't have Dazzling Offensive. It'll be a dash away.
Yeah, the fire waves are coming in and right. It will be respawning shortly. You got about a minute until Enhanced Fire Giant once again
do it again.
is going to spawn in. So I think you're right, though. If the Tanuki just give it up, they can just win the fight after the fact. That seems to be the option here. Just lose Enhanced Fire Giant, win game. So you have a few different avenues to do that. Tripno, though, top of the damage charts right now. This Merlin has been doing that sneaky poke damage as well as just the flickers in and the transformations are doing so much damage. So these stance switches from Merlin, you got to watch out for late game. Has not upgraded that breastplate or that Ra of Tahuti, so there could be a different form of power spike with some defense spike or some damage, depending on which one Tripno opts to go for. But either one of these teams could very easily find a wipe and end the game. Right now, that right lane Phoenix being down does not matter too much. You can pretty much clear that very closely to this EFG. The one thing I will say, the Sages, they have a lot of vision on this side of the map. They have a lot of ward coverage around this Enhanced Fire Giant as it spawns in.
Yes, Natty is spotted out. Clears one. I mean, you know, you can be sneaky in the jungle. Tanuki surely know that the Sages are somewhere on this side of the map, right? I mean, you can only get so caught out, but that's what the Agni can do. It's the sudden stun from over the wall. You don't even have to show your face. If you step on a ward, Agni's going to call you on it. Sada Dragon back to base. It's an immediate FG pull by the Sages. Snatty gets stunned in place as well. The FG is now reset by the Sages. Back from base goes Sada Dragon. The right side Phoenix is respawned. Dazzling Offensive gets used. Stuns out onto Snoopy. Snatty dashes away. Snoopy missing some health. So is Hydrogen, though, on the other side of the fight. Similar impact from both of the Bologna and the Amaterasu at this point. Snoopy will sustain up on the Greater Scorpion. And we're right back to full strength. Jangaru, no. Oh, Snatty missing his as well.
Yeah, I think Jangaru losing that Typhoon is going to be massive here. It's a huge AoE knockup that you would like to have in this jungle. They're grouping up so well in this little corridor as the Enhanced Fire Giant is pulled again. But not too much damage, about 80% HP, and it will be reset.
A lot of this has been happening, a lot of Briz poke as the Tanuki have walked themselves forward. Tense moments, again, that have such an impact on the rest of the phase, the rest of the year maybe, for the Athenian Sages. A team that has looked strong but has yet to find a win in any of their sets so far here in the North American SEC. This is even for a set win. This is just to send us to a Game 3. After the Tanuki take Game 1 in convincing fashion. What an opposite game we've gotten here in Game 2. Nearly double the length. Over double the length of what we got in Game number 1. Snatty playing with fire on the front. We'll have to sustain up. Fire Giant down to half HP. Damage out from Hydrogen. That does effectively nothing. The important ultimate's now back up. Sada Dragon around the back line. Dazzling Offensive gets used by Snatty. Typhoon is back as well. That one also falls short. But Slash, he's got Eagles Rally out, and somehow both of the solo laners live. Slash does have teleport. It's an easy reset for the Bologna.
It looks like it's going to be a reset for just about everyone here. They don't want to go for this pull despite the low health bars on the Sages. I think they realize how much and how quickly Slash can get back into this engagement with the teleport, so they are not going to pull despite, I think, getting the better end of that fight. Monster Bomber still has Cataclysm, but look at Fire Giant. It's being shredded down right now,
wow.
And no one from the Tanuki is here. That's going to go the way of the Sages. That's a big blunder.
What a pump fake from the Sages. There is no reset on that side, and in the Enhanced Fire Giant, to the Athenian Sages, and the Yomi Tanuki will have to look down another Fire Giant siege, this time enhanced by the Athenian Sages. You have all three Phoenixes exposed, right side Phoenix a bit limp. Tanuki will have to make some magic happen to close out this set.
Yeah, you do have this enhanced Fire Giant buff, which essentially means you can split up the Tanuki pretty effectively. Any one of these members could solo a Phoenix right now with this buff and the right circumstance. So if they did do like a 3-2 split, a 3-1-1 split, there's a few different avenues where you could try to whittle down these Phoenixes. The cards are all in the Sage's hands right now. Depends on how they do go for the siege. I don't think they even care about Primal Fury at this point. Gold, vastly unimpactful right now. You're just sort of looking for these objectives. You want to make sure that the Phoenixes are down. The Titan room will be opened up, and there's a lot of Titan burn on the side of the Sages as well. So I think it's pretty much going to start with Briz. Briz has been finding these bomb stuns and finding these engages pretty effectively.
Whoa, what is this play from the Tanuki? We're not defending our base at all. We're out on our red buff side of the map. What an awkward fight this could be. Hydrogen rooted in place. Stone Shield, helpful for Monster Bomber. But now you're not on the left side Phoenix. And Snoopy has popped a 3K pot. He'll be able to make quick work of the left side Phoenix. A few auto attacks. And now one of your 3 birds is gone.
And now Sad Dragon's looking very weak.
Whoa.
Snatty's in the back line trying to solo out Jangari, but will be
Snatty's
caught
alone.
out.
No, is this how the fate will end for Snatty, who's a bit overextended? Left side Phoenix is gone. Snoopy is on his own here on the left side of this fight in the mid lane. Tripno may have to dash away. Snatty on the opposite side of the map will go back to base and reset. You're 43 minutes into game number 2. The Athenian Sage is already missing 1 Phoenix. Could be a second Phoenix if this fight doesn't go well. Monster Bomber locked in place. So is Hydrogen. Cataclysm gets a whole lot of nothing. 2 ultimates now down for the Yomi Tanuki as the Athenian Sages will walk themselves forward. Mid lane Phoenix being looked at. Mid lane Phoenix is an afterthought. And there has been no fight. It's all been the Sages shredding down the base.
Yeah, they have 1 more bird to go. No one has looked at this Titan just yet. 5v5 on the right side of the map on this right lane right now. Snoopy has been vastly unimpactful in the fight, just getting this, but look at this, they're gonna blink in.
Whoa, Snatty, has he found the back line? Dazzling Offensive has found the front line. Slash has not taken nearly enough damage though. Phoenix still being tanked up. Fire Minions have made their way into the Titan. Snatty dashes forward. Briz has got to leave. Typhoon delays out this fight into the back line. Goes Sada Dragon, but he will be melted through on the other side of the fight. Snatty looking for Briz. Snatty does not get Briz. Snatty dies. The Athenian Sages find 2. The Yomi Tanuki down to 3 as Fire Minions are onto the Titan. The carries have got to get it done here alongside Monster Bomber. Hydrogen is pulled back in. The Yomi Tanuki are crumbling. The Titan is melting, but Hydrogen able to send damage out. Hydrogen doesn't have enough, and we go to a game 3.
That is a 45-minute banger, but look at the damage numbers. Jangaru was playing so on point on this Susanoo. Briz finding so much setup on the Agni, and Snoopy pretty much just saying, I am killing these Phoenixes. I don't care if we group up, I am making sure these go down.
We ended up getting to a point in the game where Snoopy had his impact. It just wasn't when he had a 5-level lead 15 minutes in. It was when everyone was even 45 minutes in. The Sages show some fight, and the Sages fight on. Into a game 3 we go. Tanuki versus Sages, game 3, coming up next. There's a theme this week in the Smite Challenger Circuit, and it is 3 game sets. We've got another one here after a 45-minute game number 2. And a world of difference from game 1. After the way game 1 went, I'm thinking, all right, we got a back-to-back 19-minuter. We're out of here in 30 minutes of total game time. Yeah, not quite. 45 minutes in game number 2, and it is the Sages who capitalize. Tanuki just couldn't find their initiation by the end of the game, Trelly. The individual members of the Tanuki that were going in were getting melted down. The space control was too strong. And Snoopy's 5-level lead, I don't know if you can argue it goes to waste or not. I mean, technically they win. Didn't do much with the 5-level lead.
Right.
But the Medusa won anyway.
Yeah, I would say so. Priv on this Nox was able to set up so much. I mean, anytime the front line was trying to be sneaky and trying to do anything, it was just sort of shut down by the Nox. Slash on the Bologna was pretty solid as well, able to find a good amount of space control and just sort of be annoying. That's what Bologna does very well. And Briz, especially on this Agni, the bomb stuns were pretty much the go button for this team. They were able to find so much initiation. And we highlighted Jangaru so much in the game, but this Susanoo was doing so much damage.
Yeah, Susanoo and Jangaru and his initiation, 10 KDA in a 45-minute game, pretty absurd. And it was like some under-the-radar damage at times, too. I mean, a lot of the kills happening sub-level 20, which only felt like about half of the game. But in moments like this, where you get the absurd pull-in on the absurd stuns in the lockdown, just so strong and so impactful. And that's why I was excited when this pick got locked in. Such a dynamic pick and so dependent on the player playing it. You know, there's some picks where it's very straightforward, very point and clicky, black and white, you hit it, you don't. It's a very fluid kit that Susanoo has, and when you're able to play it like Jangaru is, well, your team's going to be better off for it. 7, 1, and 6. Snoopy honestly is surprising at 1, 2, and 10. I can't believe that with what the Medusa was doing early on, but Jangaru really takes this game over, and I agree, Priv, the unseen KDA impacts were very, very strong. And it's not a surprise, Trelly, to see actual similar damage numbers kind of across the board here, because by the time we got to late game, everything was so close as far as damage, items. All of that was very, very close. It just came down to the decisions and how the compositions worked. And the Sages decided better and had a better working composition by the end of game number 2. And that reignites a little bit of hope, I think, for the Sages team in making their way to Masters, because I was talking to Miff and you between the break, very calmly said, look, the moment I knew that the Sages added Snoopy to this team, I had a feeling this is going to be a very competitive team in this set. Not that Shinigami was a bad ADC, but Snoopy just so storied and has a way of transforming the way a team plays around him. And so I figured this Sages team would look a little bit different today, and I think game 2 proves that. Into picks and bans for game number 3 we go. Now the implications at an all-time high. One more game determines a whole lot here between the Tanuki and the Sages. And you know, that's difficult to adjust off of, I think, after a game 2. Both teams have been happy to get the Bologna and the Amaterasu. I don't know if you can snap lock or snap ban a Susanoo in your first 3 if you're the Tanuki at this point. You maybe just keep things the same and realize that some misplays got you where you were in game 2.
Yeah, that certainly could be the option. Dealing with a Nox is definitely something they probably want to do as well. The Tanuki, they played it game 1, and then the Sages played it very well game 2. So if you're that worried about the Nox, I don't think the Geb was the counter to it. They will just run back the Kleena, which I have no problem with. I think Kleena was able to find a lot of success in that matchup through the walls, doing lots of damage, that sort of thing. Pretty much what Kleena does, obviously. But they will take the Amaterasu. The Sages not wanting to let Snatty do any of that nonsense that he was able to do the first 2 games.
No, and I wonder now if a Bologna needs to get picked here if you're the Tanuki, at risk of a Bologna getting banned out. Because it's been Bologna Ama, but it's been Snatty on Amaterasu in both of the games up to this point, and of course Slash on the Bologna in games 1 and 2 up to this point. So I want this is an area where the Tanuki can choose how highly they want to prioritize one of those 2 picks. Remember, could also be a Kleena solo lane, for all we know. And there is still some flexibility in that department, so it's up to the Sages to decide how likely that Kleena is to be solo, how likely it is to be jungle, and maybe how the rest of this composition impacts it. I look at Lockdown now in the duo lane, Trelly. Mark of the Golden Crow plus Ricochet into roots and lockdowns and silences there's maybe solo kill potential over on left.
Yeah, I definitely think taking this Nox away from the Sages was a good bet because the front line of the Tanuki were not able to be as annoying and impactful as they wanted to because of this Nox. So taking that one away, when you don't ban it, and just making sure it's on your side is probably the best option in this case. They will ban away the Athena once again, not wanting to deal with Athena Medusa. Pretty fair amount of global pressure as well. And it looks like the Sages will once again ban away Evo and Tiamat. So trying to dive deep into the God pool for that mid lane. Agni's already taken away as well. Zeus, Persephone could be an option. We see a lot of that. It just, depends on what route you want to go here. You have that lockdown with Nox. Got to pick some follow-up.
Ganesh is the pick for the Sages. This is something that Priv really impressed me on during that SPL qualifier tournament. The Ganesh pick looks so strong for the Sages support. And so I personally carry now high expectations for Privative here in game number 3. Odin is a dynamic pick as well. Very different reasons to something like a Susano. But the way that the cage, the way the bird bomb and the stun all flow together and change around team fights, especially when you've also got a Merlin. If you can cage off enough targets and spread out that Merlin damage, it's a very easy avenue into winning a fight. But the Sages, truly, they'll round out their draft with a Bastet. That's a strong look for Jengaru.
Yeah, whenever I see an Odin, the first question is, okay, you're trapping them in the cage, but what are you trapping them in with? Right now, I see the Suns from Hou Yi, 2 circles on top of each other. That's going to be very solid. You mentioned the Merlin damage already. Kalina has a great amount of damage as well to trap them in with, so that's going to be a great option. You have great targets as well with the Agni and the Medusa, Amaterasu even. You can find some avenues there. Just going to be how well can you utilize this Odin cage.
Trella, you and I go one more time. Game 3 between the Tanuki and the Sages will start right now. Sages fighting for their lives in Smite Masters, and they've got a strong draft to do so with. I'm looking at potential early initiation here, and I immediately snap lock my eyes towards beads here in this game, Trelly, especially on the side of the Tanuki. Jengaru on this Bastet, Priz on the Agni. Early combos between the stun and the Hunters of Bast. Easy to confirm, lockdown for one another. Beads definitely necessary.
Yeah, and I think Priv is going to be very impactful this game on the Ganesh. It's a very annoying thing to try and be in Odin in the backline. A lot of your abilities can be just channeled out by the silence, and especially if you're blinking in and trying to get a cage down, if you time the Ohm perfectly, you can't even do that. So probably needs to get a bead. Snatty already has it, so that's going to be a great option. But now you don't have that blink. The blink cage is not going to be an option until level 12. Obviously, Slash has a teleport and is going to be much more globally present, able to make the rotations much faster, as well as the fact that Amaterasu is just a faster character in general with the movement speed from the first ability. So going to be trying to match some of that pressure. Snatty, though, first time off the Ama this game. It's going to be interesting to see how this Odin impacts things, because a vastly different build, right? This is Bluestone and Breastplate. This is not that usual build.
Hydrogen has to early leap away here from Priv and Snoopy. You're right, though. Definitely a different look for Snatty. Bluestone interesting, though, Trelly. What does that tell you? Does that show you that Snatty still wants to remain somewhat aggressive early in this lane, try to find some damage, see if he can get Slash uncomfortable?
I think that Odin is going to have some success in this lane as long as there is no Frostbound Hammer to deal with. There's just, Slash can cancel out the 3 pretty easily with the silence, so you really just want to Bird Bomb and then run away. But it looks like Jengaru is not going to leave this lane alone. Once again, not letting Snatty find that early pressure. Probably going to go a long way here. The Bastet going to hang around this lane for quite some time.
Ooh, good reaction time from Hydrogen there. Snoopy locked in place. Shell used by Privative. And that's just a trade win from the Tanuki, who hold on to all their relics and most of their health bars, and Snoopy takes the shell from Priv. So something like that happens again. Monster Bomber and Hydrogen might be looking at first blood. And that's just quick reaction time from Hydrogen. Snoopy thought there was an opening. There was an opening. But the up and over from the Hou Yi, just a little bit too fast. Keep your eyes on Sada Dragon as well, Trelly, who later on in game 1, or game 2 rather, opened things up a bit on this Kleena, but took some time. Didn't see much early pressure, not many ganks thrown out from the Yomi Tanuki early on in game 2.
Yeah, Sad Dragon usually likes that playstyle. Will just Not really look for the ganks early on, try to find some back camp invades if possible, but really just try to farm up because usually he's on things like Kali where you can't even be that effective. Jengaru, though, knows this blue buff spawning in is going to make that rotation over to solo lane immediately. Last time this happened, Sad Dragon was at the purple buff. This time around, maybe here to help out is at speed currently. They're going to have to go for that 2v2 fight over the blue, but the Athenian Sages, they already have the pressure here. They've been here for a while.
Oh, Priv. Be careful. Here's a 2 versus 2. Up-downs traded, but it's the silence from Sada Dragon that makes all the difference. But it's the lack of mana that makes the ultimate difference. And Sada Dragon won't continue that chase any further. Blue buff will be whittled down by the Tanuki. Likely taken down. We've already seen a couple of the combos that we were worried about in picks and pans. The lockdown from Monster Bomber into just confirmed damage from Hydrogen. Hasn't fully bitten the Sages just yet, but has come close to handing an early kill over to the Yomi Tanuki. But that hasn't stopped Trelly, the Sages, from having a bit of lane priority in this lane. A slight level lead, just able to clear out some of those waves a little bit faster. But I think all things considered relatively even over in duo.
Yeah, as long as you're holding on to those beads, you're going to be just fine. Obviously, Monster Bomber has been hitting a fair amount of CC, but Snoopy, despite taking a little bit of HP and using that shell, still has the beads available, so really wasn't in too much harm's way there. We see these solo laners have ticked over to level 5. I think at any moment, Sad Dragon could come over, Snotty could find the cage, and they could find a pretty easy gank on a Slash. It's pretty much how much of Kleena's abilities are you going to be able to juke out with your dazzling offensive tick. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did see Sada Dragon over towards that right side of the map, trying to match some of that pressure that Jengaru has been putting over there. But also, given how Sada Dragon likes to play, wait, he might be in some trouble here. Priv was a little bit slow on the rotation, probably didn't even know how close those were to being done. But 4 minutes ticks by, and the mid camps will spawn back in.
Jengaru will be close by, and looks like confirming the mid camp. Slash uses dazzling offensive. That's a change from what we've seen in the early part of this lane, where Slash is actually the one being pressured out by Snotty. Felt like Snotty was on the back foot for a little while. Granted, Jengaru was hanging out in that lane for a little while. Cage gets dropped, so does dazzling offensive, but only one of the 2 solo laners has teleport, and that's Slash. And so a quicker reinitiation time. Good read by Monster Bomber's Privative, attempting to dash in. Now, what I expect from Priv, Trelly, I mean, you reach level 5 on this Ganesh. Dharmic Pillar's relatively low cooldown. I expect Priv to just throw those out.
Yeah, definitely. Wanting to ult on cooldown is the way to go for the Ganesha. Sada Dragon, though, does have some pressure over here on the right side of the map. Slash, no ultimate available, but it looks like the blue buff invade not on the cards here. Sada Dragon will just confirm their own blue buff because they don't really want to fight. They don't have tabs on Jengaru just yet right now in the back camp, so probably the safer bet at this point into the game. I think Kleena has a lot of damage right now, but again, it's pretty difficult to confirm those ults. You have a little bit of poke in the 1-2-3 combo, but just not enough, not as much as Jengaru has right now. And the Huntress of Bast is relatively hard to hit, but when you're able to barrel stuff it, you can usually confirm that damage pretty effectively. So not wanting to fight over that blue buff, I think a smart option here is the Tanuki. Very far up in this lane, that purple buff is spawning in, but they're not going to go for the invade, I think. They're going to be a little bit too late on that. Just clear the wave out, go for their own purple buff, and start back up that farm game.
Yeah, absolutely. Both of these 2 teams, Trelly, and not surprising, might play a little bit more cautiously here in game number 3. Game 1, caution was to the wind. Game 2, everything's important. Game 3, there is 0 room for mistakes because this set will be over if your team makes too many issues early on. And an interesting build path from Hydrogen. Snoopy is stuck with Crusher, likely Aussie after this. Hydrogen goes Cow straight into Dominance. Maybe realizing some of the stats on that item are helpful early. Privative drops Dharmic Pillar. Sada Dragon melted. Petrified deals the last bit of damage, and that's why you use Dharmic Pillars early and often. You set up a kill, and the damage is there to follow.
Yeah, that was just so much damage. Sada Dragon even had the beads available, got the dash caught, and just way too much CC and damage to follow up there. So first blood will go the way of the Sages, and you're right to highlight Hydrogen's odd build, but this is something that he goes to a fair amount, just the first item dominance. Usually you are selling this Crusher late game for dominance, so I think he finds It's not the worst stat item early on, and it's sort of like a pseudo-transcendence in the fact that you get some mana and a little bit of damage. Not so much damage and not so much mana, but the penetration coming online is not the worst thing in the world, especially for Hou Yi. You're able to just drop your ult, and Priv could be in some trouble here. Will dash out. The ricochet is good, but Snoopy's wrapping around.
Hydrogen is just barrel stuffing Privative. At this point, Sada Dragon dashes forward, tries to finish off this kill, but stunned in place, and he has done too much. The Sages find a second. And that's an overextension from Sada Dragon. 0-2 on this Kleina. Maybe this is why you don't see him get active super early. Tends to bite him just a little bit. That's a good silence onto Snoopy. Forces the beads in the dash. But the Tanuki are still empty-handed.
And they are going to get the beads down from Snoopy, so a return gank could be on the cards. But Monster Bomber doesn't even have enough mana for this. The purple buff could be the only win here. A nice double bounce, but make sure to confirm this very quickly, and it will go down. Now, though, I was going to say Slash might have that Frostbound Hammer. Not quite yet, so not going to be able to chase down Snatty. Once that Frostbound Hammer is completed, this lane is going to get so much more annoying for the Odin. But at the moment, just the Berserker Shield, so the trades will be pretty much just a little poke game. Snatty not wanting to trade auto attacks just yet, even with the cooldown from the breastplate, just clearing the way with the shield and running away, probably your best option. Still, though, Jengaru will not be getting too active at the moment. We've seen Sada Dragon overextend now after getting First Blood, so trying to find a little bit more action on the map. Jengaru, though, relatively chill on this Bastet, not really finding too much engage except for the kill that was handed to him by that beautiful Dharmic Pillars from Priv. As there's no beats for Snoopy, Hydrogen finds a good bounce.
Yeah, what can Hydrogen do here? Not much. Privative is too close. Hydrogen had ult. Jengaru's now on this side of the map. Can the snowball keep rolling downhill? The Sages are all in on Monster Bomber right now. Jengaru leaps away, and there will be no kill. A couple ultimates exchanged. Monster Bomber nearly taken out, but safety of the Nox can't be understated at all. Is it going to happen again? Sada Dragon blocked off from the wall, and now an 0-3 start to the Kleina, and the Athenian Sages are rolling over the jungler of the Yomi Tanuki.
It seems like Snoopy is just always in position, hit a very clutch Petrify before.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah, before Sada Dragon's ever able to get into the wall. So massive rotations from the ADC of the Athenian Sages. 3-0, and Sada Dragon is 0-3. So looking for pressure in the jungle whenever you catch out this cleanup. Probably a good option to try and find a kill there. But Hydrogen does have a level lead. Has been getting very aggressive onto Snoopy. Will jump in here. No beads available, and that's going to be a kill.
Yeah, that's got to be a solo kill. Hydrogen able to call Snoopy on the lack of beads, and a rare win for the Tanuki as the Sages continue to find theirs. But it is a trade back after Tripno. Looks like maybe just got run down by Slash, but the fighting will continue over on right. I said you play more cautiously in Game 3. Maybe it's anything but as Briz rotates from the mid lane, and it's another impacted kill by this Agni. The early stuns have made all the difference. Monster Bomber will be low, but Monster Bomber will not die. Priv does have Dharmic Pillars. Can chase this one out. Is that going to be a kill? Needs one tick from the Dharmic Pillars, but doesn't end up using it. As Priv keeps it in the back pocket. I'm throwing that out every day of the week, but maybe Priv realizes the range wasn't there.
I don't think Priv had the mana. Yeah, it was very close. Probably just one more mana, trying to get it off as quickly as possible, but not enough. So Priv will not be able to. That probably would have been a kill too. I don't know if anyone was close enough to get the last hit. So we might have seen a Ganesha kill tick if it would have went down there, but not the case. Briz, level 13 currently on this Agni, 2-0. So the farm game and the kill game has been very solid. Briz has been able to get these last hits at least, and now it's 5-2. For the Sages, as Snoopy is trying to solo invade this buff. Finally has the beads back up, but won't use them this time around. Just going to eat that damage and take that purple buff away from Hydrogen. As Priv makes that rotation over. The Dharmic Pillars, though, still in the back pocket.
Yeah, they're still there. Priv didn't use them in mid. As apparently all bets are off for when teams are going to be fighting here in game number 3. I thought it was going to be the opposite. I thought we'd see a lot slower pacing of a game. Snoopy lets Petrify fly. Sada Dragon trying to get something going here in this game. And how about that from Priv? Dharmic Pillars go down, and it's immediate disengage from the Yomi Tanuki. Stun and knock up onto Monster Bomber. But nothing else there from the Athenian Sages. I think you just got to keep your eyes on Jengaru and Briz here, because everything those two have done this game have turned into kills. Same for Privative. The 3 versus 3 for the Sages has just been so strong.
Yeah, definitely. Looking over at this solo lane, though, Snatty does have the blink available, but Slash will get that blue buff pretty much for free right now. So Slash Not too worried about the Odin currently. The Glad Shield breastplate build brings a lot of cooldown and a small bit of damage. Yeah, they're duking it out. The Frostbound Hammer's here, but
What a brawl.
I don't see much damage really coming through, at least at the moment. Sad Dragon, though, thinks maybe there is an option to find some kills. The Brawler's Beat Stick, not an option. This is Crusher and Jotuns for Sad Dragon. So there will be a cage opportunity here. Will they catch the dash? And here it goes.
Slash in the cage, dazzling offensive. 1, 2, 3. No stun there, but dash is out. Slash buys his time. Snotty thinking about this. Take a few tower shots on your way out. There's no counter rotation out from the Sages, though. Gotta be damage from Sada Dragon. Slash has dodged everything and even sends out the damage. Where's the rotation? Begging for help. Sada Dragon finally picks up the kill. Dharmic Pillar's down from Privative, but jumped out by Snotty. That is a crime. That how well Slash plays that. Not a single kill drops for the Sages. And the Yomi Tanuki, I suppose, juggle the tower aggro perfectly and get out.
Yeah, that's a ranked moment for sure. You're just yelling, "Where's my team?" And no one is able to come in to help. At least you will get a Pyromancer in response because no one else is going to be there to help that one out. But Slash, you're right, played that so well. And Snoopy is getting aggressed upon, will get the purple buff. Throws out a Petrify just to make sure there's no oncoming aggression. And we'll continue the farm game as Greater Scorpion goes down. Still, though, Briz level 15, man. If these solo laners start to make the rotation, Snotty has 0 magic defense right now. Briz will be doing. There we go. He got the tier 2 Genji, so there is actually a fair bit of magic defense now on the way. But Briz still being able to chunk out a lot on this Agni pick right now. We've already seen what he's able to do late game in these fights, but with the Spear of Deso, Sands of Time, Chronos Pendant build, that's so many cooldown resets. You're just going to be pretty much pumping out damage every couple seconds. It's a lot of damage coming out from this Agni.
Looks like maybe some percent pen on the other side of the Chronos Pendant might help out in the next couple of minutes of this game. And Phantom Shell for Briz as well. So if Snotty jumps on to the Agni, we're walking out. Snoopy avoids the stun from Hydrogen, and in one fell swoop, nearly gets all of his health bar down. Privative drops down the Dharmic Pillars, dashes forward. Sada Dragon has got the beat. Snoopy takes mark of the Golden Crow yet again. This is a 2 versus 3, and the Sages are the ones exerting pressure onto the Tanuki. Tripno considering a rotation towards left, but Briz is here as well. But Briz and Jangaru have looked for the Gold Fury, and the Athenian Sages will grab the Gold Fury while Privative zones out the Tanuki.
I mean, you can't go for that Gold Fury for free unless your duo lane is winning the 2v3 pretty handedly, right? Like, Snoopy was able to just completely shut down that gank, that was a gank attempt, and then turn it into, we're going to chase you out. If it's 2v3, the rest of your team are able to pull that Gold Fury, and you have the damage to burn that one down. So that's greatly played by the ADC of the Sages. And now you have a solid gold lead building up here, about 5K currently, as the Obelisk is trying to get stole away, and Priv will get the last tick of that Obelisk. So another win for the Sages. The only thing they really have going for them right now is your level 16 Odin, and the fact that Tripno's itemization has been pretty solid thus far. But besides that, the team fight for the Sages is looking very strong.
Look, the Sages have just controlled the last 10 minutes of game 2, and now the first 15 minutes of game number 3, and a hefty gold lead is built up to give the Athenian Sages a very strong standing here. Teams have not shied away from being active. Wonder if we start to hover over towards the right side of the map. Bring Snoopy and his 2-level lead over. Bring Briz and the 1-level lead out of mid. 1 in the jungle, 2 in support. Bring all of that towards right. Maybe force some type of fight. Looks like first tower in the game will go down. And of course, it's Snoopy over on left.
Yeah, and it looks like the blue buff is being looked at here, but Jangaru makes the rotation over. Snotty could be in some trouble, but not going to be. So the chase will not ensue, and the solo laners will go back to doing solo lane things. Looking at the builds, though, Tripno going for a completely different build. Obviously, we've seen how much stock Briz puts into this Chronos Pendant, wanting to get these cooldowns online. Whereas Tripno said, hey, I want Spear of Deso. Obviously, Flat Pen is very strong, but I want Charon's Coin and Soul Reaver. I want tank damage right now because we've recognized Slash. We've recognized how much Prav's been able to do right now. We want to be chunking these tanks down pretty effectively. Merlin, not the best way to answer those tanks in the early portion of the game, but now that we have a level 17 Merlin on the map, there's a fair bit of burn in that build, no pun intended.
Troy, you gotta sell that better. You can't just drop the no pun intended.
I didn't mean to.
You gotta really. Oh, if you truly didn't mean it, then hats off to you. If you did mean it, you gotta just let it sit. You gotta let it burn. You know, you gotta let it hang out for just a second. Come on, take some notes. Just kidding. If you truly didn't mean it, then that's truly impressive. As the Sages will rally around mid here. Primal Fury halfway back to respawning. Sada Dragon in the wall. I thought maybe it was going to pop out for a second, but Priv had a Dharmic Pillars and a stun awaiting on the other end. Slash running down Snatty, despite the 1 level differential. This is what a Frostbound Hammer and some move speed will do for you. Looks like he'll end up just clearing out this wave. Snoopy is just continuing to route the left side of the map. While Hydrogen is rotated over, Snoopy says, hey team, hang out, I'm going to keep farming. And a 3-level lead is now built. Yeah,
this is pretty much the same thing we just saw. I mean, Snoopy on this Medusa is able to get pressure in this lane. Hydrogen found a nice solo kill, but that's pretty much been it at this point. There was a little bit of room for this Hou Yi to find some pressure, but it's gone. So now Hydrogen will just set up camp at that tier 2 tower. Not even an attempt to clear that wave at this point. Hydrogen just wants the wave to die there. Try to starve it up as much as possible, because Snoopy, if you are sitting there at the tier 2 tower, there's an opportunity to die, but Priv will drop the Dharmic Pillars. I don't see opportunity for a kill unless Briz drops everything, and Monster Bomber actually takes a lot more damage than I would have expected.
That was an important silence from Monster Bomber at the beginning of that fight. Briz had a double stun, and I think had an opening for double damage with all of the ultimate charges being ready to go, but Monster Bomber quick on the silence. Game has slowed down a bit here, Trelly. The gold lead hasn't, just shy of 5,000 for the Athenian Sages. Pyromancer's up. You're going to have the Gold Fury up in a minute as well. That's likely when you'll start to see some fights start to spark out just once more. Both teams could turn their eyes towards those objectives, and it looks like the Pyromancer going to get looked at and should be taken down by the Sages. I'm not sure the Tanuki have the gold to comfortably fight back into this one. You can't give up too much for just a Pyromancer, and the Sages will secure the objective.
Yes, Natty did try to show some face there. I don't think too worried about his own life there, but also not much steal potential. If you're able to potty block the spear from Odin, that's really the only steal potential you have, unless Natty's going to bird bomb in to 4 members, and I don't think that would be the best play either. So just backing off as the Pyromancer goes down. About 17 seconds here on that Primal Fury respawn, and I would expect Snoopy to be pretty much on that right as it happens. I mean, the Sages have the gold lead, as we mentioned. They have all the pressure in the world they really need to on this side of the map. And unless Snatty makes the rotation over, I think they're going to go for this one pretty much immediately here. Not too many steel tools available, except for maybe Monster Bomber's ult from a distance, which is not going to be out-damaging anything that Briz has right now.
Yeah, but here the concern is
nothing.
There's no concern. No, but the concern for the Tanuki is they haven't drawn the line anywhere. They haven't drawn the line on any of the neutral objectives, on any of the farm. It's just a slow burn where the Sages just take away this, take away that. Now for the next few minutes while the objectives respawn, the Sages are going to farm up comfortably because they're in the lead. I suppose you're hoping that if you're the Tanuki that you can do the same thing you did in game 1, where you delay things out for a while and get back to a point of being even. But there's been no, all right, we're not giving this up. No, outside of the early fighting, the Tanuki have not wanted to fight around any of the objectives yet, and Athenian Sages have built up a nice lead as a result.
Snatty, though, is the first one on the map to upgrade that starter item with the Bluestone Brooch, so a small win, I suppose, in a world of losses for the Tanuki, at least for right now. I think you're right to assume that they want to just stall out till late game. Sure, losing the early portion of the game hurts, but they were able to make it to about 40 minutes with a much bigger deficit last time around, at least in that duo lane specifically. I think Snoopy had like, what, 5-level lead at this point in the game last time around, so not going to be the biggest concern, but look at Snoopy, has made the rotation over, so I have to imagine they're turning their heads towards this Fire Giant.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right? if I'm the Tanuki, I'm not... Or if I'm the Sages, I'm not sure the Tanuki are going to step up and fight us over it. They haven't over any of the other objectives yet. The towers have gone down relatively freely. This one does receive some pushback, but not much, as the Sages are going to exert some pressure towards mid as well. Sada Dragon takes the last bit of tick damage over in the tower. Another objective goes down. This time it's the tier 1 on the right side of the map. The Sages are just controlling everything, and the Tanuki just can't extend forward. Monster Bomber Looking for the mask, and that'll help out this Nox a little bit, I suppose, Trelly. And once you fully complete that item, you'll be a little bit more tanky and can maybe get a bit more active on the front of these fights. But right now, Privative has been the one controlling everything in the support conversation. Now the Sages will turn their eyes towards the mid-tier 1 tower. This time, though, the Tanuki do want to have something to say about it. How about the cage and the silence and all the damage from Tripno? That's what we've been looking for. And the combo works for the Tanuki, but only in damage. No kills roll through, and it's only Briz who's low.
I mean, at this point, you just have to do that twice. Natty has the ultimate on a very low cooldown right now with that current build. The Phantom Shell is not going to be up from Briz for quite some time, but Priv also has one. They have 2 Phantom Shells, so they recognize, hey, the only way we ever lose these fights is if we get trapped in this Odin cage for too long. Now that we have 2 Phantom Shells, there's going to be really no avenue for them to find the pressure that they need unless Priv's not grouped up in that fight, which, given the way that Priv has played this game thus far, I can't imagine that this Ganesh is ever far away from the carries right now. So Snatty has his work cut out for him. The cage was nice. The follow-up was there. Just whenever that Phantom Shell is available, you can't really commit too hard to what's inside of the cage after the fact. Right now, though, the Tanuki are not pushing that left wave. Right now, they are grouped up as 5 pretty much over towards this Fire Giant as Jengaru back. So they have the one-man advantage right now, but there's no way they pull this Fire Giant, but Monster Bomber auto attacked it. They might actually pull this.
The Tanuki haven't fought over everything, and now they're gonna over anything, and now they're gonna pull a 23-minute Fire Giant while down 8,000 gold. See how it pays off for the Tanuki. Fire Giant being burned through, and the Sages will take it away. It has not worked out for the Tanuki, and it looks like the fight on the other end is not gonna go much better either. Dazzling offensive from Slash will not get the stun because Tripno used the beads. There's a double stun on the other side from Briz anyway. FG +2 to the Sages.
I mean, that was the easiest FG confirm I've ever seen. It was pretty much just Dharmic Pillars, Snoopy walks up. Everyone had abandoned the FG. The Tanuki essentially got it to 95% HP. Got it down to 5% HP, I should say. They did 95% of the work and then said, you guys want this? Snatty tried to stay and get that confirmation, but it just wasn't enough. And now the right Phoenix is being looked at. You really don't have any ultimates to try and defend this one. And the Athenian Sages, 5 strong, are going to go for this right side Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, the Tanuki, if you lose too many members here, you're going to be staggered out forever and maybe staggered out just to the end of the game. Tripno uses the actives, Jengaru in and out. Right side Phoenix is gone, but still 2 tier 2 towers and a tier 1 in mid. Sages realizing Titan is too tanky to take down at this point. They'll back away.
I mean, I understand the play call. You have a lot of burn in your own right, but look at Hydrogen's build. He's got 3 items online, and one of them is Dominance. It's just not that much Fire Giant burn. I mean, you have Tripno's damage as well, but only 3 items of worth. Sada Dragon has the ults. I understand the play call. It just didn't go as quickly as they thought, and now, I mean, you pretty much have no more avenue back into this game. This is well over a 10K gold lead at this point. You lose your right Phoenix. You still have 1 more tier 2 tower to go. And now the Sages can back up and just spend all this gold that they just accrued over that whole team fight that we just witnessed. We're seeing so many items built on that right side of the map. Death's Embrace, Sentinel's Embrace. We saw the Mace's build as well. Jengaru upgraded the starter. Relic Dagger being built for Priv. So many power spikes on that right side of the map. If you couldn't win a team fight before, there's very little avenue for you to win one now. The cage is still pretty much all you have. If Snatty can find a massive cage underneath the Phoenix, no relics are up, which right now is not the case. You're going to have to get those relics down first. That's your one chance for the Tanuki to come back in this game.
I mean, I admire it. Maybe the Tanuki are also realizing that, look, this game is slowly slipping away. We've got to make something crazy happen. And that was their opportunity. Unfortunately, it has not only not paid off, but made things near unrecoverable here for the Yomi Tanuki. The Athenian Sages, they still have got a minute and a half on the Fire Giant buff, and their eyes are on the left side Phoenix. Phantom Shell gets used, simple enough. Double stun out from Briz. That'll force the dashes from Snatty in the leap out of Monster Bomber. Dharmic Pillars, that clips 4, and it's great from Privative. Up and over goes Hydrogen. Sada Dragon alone on the right. Into the wall he goes. Both of the actives ticking away. Won't have the opportunity to get back into this fight, though. Bit of a juggled fight, though, as Slash is locked down. Takes 1 more shot from the Phoenix. And not much damage is connected onto the left side bird.
Yeah, that Phoenix is full HP. Snoopy, though, still face tanking it, does not care about the damage that he is receiving. About half health now. Still, though, this Phoenix comes up. If Snatty is able to juggle his way back into this ultimate, they could have a re-engage here. Still one more Phantom Shell, but Slash teleports back in. This Phoenix has to go down now.
Sada Dragon, my goodness, nearly gets taken down by the cat from Jangaru. Fire minions are on the Titan, and this is probably the right call from the Tanuki. There is no fighting to be done, and the Athenian Sages now rally around the mid lane Phoenix. One final chance for the Tanuki to turn this game around, to knock the Sages out of contention for Masters. There's another Phantom Shell. This time, it's also perfect. Another Dharmic Pillars from Privative finds value in the mid lane Phoenix. Jangaru goes over the wall. It's a double silence from Slash on his dash forward. Hydrogen leaps away. Snatty pulled back into the Sages team. All 5 members of the Sages without Fire Giant buff anymore into the Tanuki's Titan room. The damage is there to follow up as well. All eyes on the Titan, and the Sages take this 1 and 3.
I mean, Dave, you called before this game even started. You said when Snoopy's on a team, they like to get him ahead and watch him carry. This was sort of what we just saw. I'm not going to say the whole game was on Snoopy's shoulders, but he had extreme leads pretty much this whole set. I mean, the first game, obviously, Snatty was able to find a massive lead, and that was whatever. But still, Snoopy was ahead in that game, and then the next two. It was just very difficult for Hydrogen to come back, and when you have a Medusa that's fed, everyone else just follows suit.
Snoopy positioned so effectively, and the Sages feeling like a rejuvenated team now after the way that game number 3 goes for this squad. It was all quiet as far as kills go. The Sages were just quietly taking all the objectives on the map, Trelly, and then this fight happens. The Tanuki decide to full 5-on-5 just pull the FG, and I think it's the Petrify from Snoopy that ends up securing the objective.
Yeah, once the Dharmic Pillars into that Petrify go down, they try to get away, but you end up losing, I believe, Snatty here. And then what opportunity do you have at this point? And you throw all of your cards into trying to get that Fire Giant, and then once it goes down, I think they knew the game was pretty much over at that point. But I do understand the fact that they wanted to try and do something. They just didn't have any avenues here. They didn't have the burn to do it quickly enough.
That's a good ult from Jangaru as well to pull Snatty back into the fight. I think Briz, very effective on the Agni in both games. I almost said, I thought the Tanuki or the Sages were going to ban out the Agni in one of their first wave of bans going into Game 3 because the space control was just way too much. I mean, it's Deso, Kronos, Obshard, and that was just a massive power spike for Briz here in this game, who ends up doing top damage in the game, beats out Snoopy by about 600 or so damage. And Trelly, this is such a good look for the Athenian Sages. And I can't believe you look at a match that ends like this, and outside of game 1, which was the fastest game in the set by far, and some stumbles in game number 2, the Sages look like a very, very competitive team. The fact that this team was 0-3 going into this matchup, I think, surprising. But the Sages now, with only 1 game left, still in contention. You got to hope that the Tanuki end up losing their matchup because the Sages, I think, a very competitive team that could make some waves moving forward.
Yeah, that's what stinks about turning on this late into the circuit, right? You have to sort of hope. You did everything you could in this matchup, right? You got the win for yourself. That's going to help out. But you're not able to get anything going unless the Tanuki lose.
And you look back at the North American SEC, all 3 games go all 3 games as the Storm, the Hounds, and the Sages all find wins this week in the North American SCC. I believe EU was 2 out of 3 go 3 games, and one of those 3 sets ends up only going the 2, so it was a very back-and-forth week in the SEC this week. Here, a look at your standings. Remember, the Sages now at 1-3. This is a whole lot of if. If the Sages win, they'll be 2-3. If the Tanuki lose next week, they'll be 2-3, and I believe the Sages would have the tiebreaker there. But lots to be done, and we'll discuss all of that on the desk going into next week. But the Sages still alive, and the Tanuki not out of the woods just yet. The North American SEC has a whole lot of competitive Smite left to be played. This is all a precursor on our day, of course, going into the SPL. We've got 2 more SPL sets happening later on today. The Leviathans versus the Valkyries, Trelly, start us off. And I actually saw this online, talking about the Leviathans and the Valkyries. I saw some fans predicting that as a potential upset, which I couldn't believe. Do you echo those thoughts?
I mean,
My thoughts are the Vikings thoughts.
you telling me that, the look on my face is pretty much the reaction. I would be very surprised to see that. The Valkyries are definitely a solid team, and they have some avenues to maybe take a game or two. But the Leviathans, I don't think they're going to let themselves get rolled over by the Valks just yet.
To be clear, I think I'm calling like one guy or one user on Reddit out specifically in the pre-week thread. One person had spotlighted this upcoming set, Valkyries versus Leviathans, as a potential upset. Maybe the Leviathans have looked shaky. Maybe the Valkyries have looked better. Will that happen? Will one person on Reddit be a genius? Very rare that happens. Leviathans versus Valkyries, the SPL, coming up next.